Chapter 696. Yi Qingyan's gaze turned to the air, staring straight at the expert on the golden armored warship. Qin Wentian was his foster son, and the reason why they were connected by fate was because Qin Wentian and Imo Qingqing had saved his life. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian and Imo Qingqing's father, he would have already died and the Yi country would have long fallen into the hands of bandits. A man could clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. If there was enmity, there would be revenge, and if there was kindness, there would be kindness. In addition, he admired Qin Wentian very much. This foster son of his would definitely become an outstanding character in the future, a demon-level character that would dominate the entire royal sacred region. His future would definitely be even further away. How could Yi Qingyun allow the royal sacred sect to kill Qin Wentian? He, Yi Qingyun, was willing to protect Qin Wentian, regardless of the price. Hence, a resolute light could be seen in Yi Qingyun's eyes. He then spoke, "Yes, if we want to kill Qin Wentian, even if the royal sacred sect is the hegemon of an entire region, they would have to step over my body first." The experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley didn't say anything. They continued standing in the air, but the resolute look in their eyes had already given them their answer. Fine. On the golden armored warship, that expert stared down at the experts below as he coldly spoke, "In this world, is there any place that belongs to my royal sacred sect? I really want to see how strong your determination is." As the sound of his voice faded, everyone could feel the sharpness in the voice of the expert on the golden armored warship. Everything under the heavens belonged to the royal sacred sect. They were simply too arrogant. It was as though everything under the heavens belonged to their royal sacred sect. The royal sacred sect was the hegemon of the royal sacred region, ruling over everything under the heavens. But when the words spoken by the expert from the royal sacred sect sounded so tyrannical that it could swallow mountains and rivers, it caused Qin Wentian and the others to feel a chill in their hearts. Everything under the heavens belonged to the royal sacred sect. Did this mean that whoever they wanted to die would die? Right now, the royal sacred sect wanted Qin Wentian to die. They wanted to see how strong the determination of the Medicine Sovereign Valley and Yi Qingyun was. An incomparably intense killing intent flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes. This sentence of Qin Wentian caused his impression of the royal sacred sect to worsen to the extreme. The royal sacred sect was the hegemon of the world, they were the strongest. Could they decide the fate of everyone in the world? Everything under the heavens belonged to the royal sacred sect. This sentence exposed the coldness and arrogance of the royal sacred sect. Indeed, the number of people we gathered here today isn't sufficient to kill Qin Wentian. However, my royal sacred sect wants to see, if we want Qin Wentian to die, who would dare to obstruct us? On the golden armored warship, the expert's voice was still as cold as ice. He said, "Qin Wentian, Yi Qingyun, listen up." Yi Qingyun and Qin Wentian inclined their heads, coldly staring at the figure in the air. "Within 7 days, come to the sacred royal city to receive your death. If you don't come, my royal sacred sect dares to make Yi and Grand Xia vanish from the face of the royal sacred region." The expert on the golden armored warship exuded a boundless coldness. This voice of his was so cold that it seeped into Qin Wentian's bones and soul. "Within 7 days, come to the sacred royal city to receive your death. If not, I will make Yi and Grand Xia vanish from the face of the royal sacred region." The words spoken by the royal sacred sect were filled with boundless cold-bloodedness and tyranny. They could indeed accomplish this. As long as the royal sacred sect gave the command, the strongest power in Grand Xia would be easily razed to flat ground. The 9 continents of Grand Xia would be turned into ruins and Grand Xia would never be able to recover from this setback. In fact, Grand Xia might even be erased from the royal sacred region. This was the first time Qin Wentian truly experienced the coldness and arrogance of a hegemon. Everyone also truly understood the determination of the royal sacred sect to kill Qin Wentian. Back then, Qin Wentian entered the royal sacred sect, killing Xia Sheng and leaving with his life. It wasn't because Qin Wentian was strong, it was because the sacred emperor didn't have the intention to kill Qin Wentian. But this time was different. Everyone in the royal sacred sect wanted Qin Wentian to die. The prestige of a hegemon cannot be blasphemed. Today, a Qin Wentian appeared. If Qin Wentian descended, there would be a second one. Only the fresh blood of Qin Wentian would be engraved in the minds of the people of the royal sacred region. Remember the meaning of the 4 words royal sacred sect, remember the prestige of a hegemon. No one can ever blaspheme against them. Those who offend them shall die. As the sound of his voice faded, the golden-armored warship glowed with resplendent light. The expert had his hands clasped behind his back as he spoke to everyone, "Return." "Roger." Everyone nodded as they boarded the golden-armored warship. Cold gazes swept over to Qin Wentian, staring at Qin Wentian as though they were looking at a dead man. Seems like this time around, they came to the royal sacred sect only to probe the medicine Sovereign Valley's determination. If they could kill them, they would. But since the medicine Sovereign Valley wanted to protect Qin Wentian no matter what, the royal sacred sect would also show the medicine Sovereign Valley their determination. 7 days later, Qin Wentian and Yi Qingyun would go to the royal sacred sect to await their deaths. These words were only meant for Yi Qingyun and Qin Wentian, but wasn't it also meant for the medicine sovereign as well? The golden-armored warship turned and soared through the air, exuding a tyrannical aura as it left. It left behind an incomparably tyrannical sentence, telling Qin Wentian and the human emperor of Yi to go to the royal sacred sect to await their deaths. In the surroundings of the royal sacred sect, the spectators were all dumbstruck. Qin Wentian seemed to have offended an inconceivably powerful existence, telling Qin Wentian to go to the royal sacred sect to await his death. If not, they would annihilate Grand Xia. The bodies of many trembled as they stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. At this moment, Qin Wentian and the rest were all filled with towering rage as they stared at the departing silhouettes. Telling them to go to the royal sacred sect, the hegemon of this world. How awe-inspiring. The royal sacred sect was the hegemon of this world. How awe-inspiring. The sun continued to cascade down from the sky, bringing with it a blazing heat. However, many people felt a chill, including Qin Wentian and Yi Qingyun. It wasn't because of fear, but rather, it was because of the coldness and anger in their hearts. His long robes fluttered in the wind. Qin Wentian didn't speak for a long time. He only stood there, staring at the departing golden-armored warship. After a long period of silence, he turned his gaze onto the royal sacred sect below, before casting a glance at the people of Grand Xia. Drawing in a deep breath, there were no more worries in his heart. From today onwards, Fairy Qinmei shall replace me as the ruler of Grand Xia. I shall do this for the sake of reviving Grand Xia. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, he slowly descended the warship, moving towards the royal sacred sect. An instant later, he brought a group of silhouettes and soared through the air, leaving behind the silhouettes of his silhouette that exuded magnificence throughout the generations. Staring at that silhouette, it was filled with an indomitable will, as though he would never return, as well as a stubborn determination to ascend to the peak of Grand Xia. Many years later, there would still be people who wouldn't be able to forget this silhouette. Not long after Qin Wentian became the emperor of Grand Xia, he brought his lofty ambitions and left the royal sacred sect, saving Grand Xia from calamity. After Qin Wentian left, numerous silhouettes soared up into the air. These were all the ascendants of Grand Xia, including Fairy Qinmei, Old Xing, Luo Huan and the rest. They stared at the departing silhouette as tears could be seen in the eyes of many. When would they be able to witness his magnificence again? Chapter 697. The royal sacred region was boundlessly vast, and the sacred royal city was the most flourishing. After Qin Wentian obtained the top ranker of the immortal martial realm, his fame shook the world on the sacred battle platform, slaying Di Shi and defeating an era-suppressing genius. His potential and combat prowess had proven that he was above all era-suppressing geniuses, and he was faintly the #1 genius among the younger generations in the royal sacred region. He had even killed Xia Sheng in the royal sacred sect, taking revenge for Qin. The medicine sovereign, the immortal martial realm as well as Yi Qingyun protected him, escorting him out of the royal sacred sect safely. But it was precisely this supreme heaven chosen that was now wanted by the royal sacred sect. The hegemon of the world wanted his life. And just a few days ago, news circulated out that Qin Wentian was coming to the sacred royal city to await his death. Not only for Qin Wentian, even the human emperor of Yi Qingyun, who was protecting Qin Wentian, would also be punished by the royal sacred sect. And at this moment, Qin Wentian had already arrived in the sacred royal city. However, he didn't reveal himself and chose to remain in the most flourishing trading ground in the sacred royal city, silently trading for the Sky Demon Oracle Bone Powder, keeping a low profile. After obtaining the Sky Demon Oracle Bone Powder, he would find a place to cultivate in silence, as though he didn't care about the commotion in the outside world. However, even though Qin Wentian didn't care, there were others who were anxious. Mo Qingqing was currently gathering the experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley, preparing to head to the sacred royal city. She didn't expect Qin Wentian to be so audacious, directly entering the sacred royal city. After all, the royal sacred sect was the hegemon of the world. Now that they had steeled their hearts to kill Qin Wentian, there would surely be a terrifying storm of commotion. Other than Mo Qingqing, there was one more person who had never left Qin Wentian's line of sight, even though it had been a very long time since she appeared in front of him. In the sacred royal city, the royal sacred sect stood there, exuding a majestic aura, the hegemon of the world. In the air outside the royal sacred sect, the silhouette of a female could be seen. The eyes of this female flickered with a boundless coldness as killing intent flashed within. "Princess," His Majesty sent another message. "We really should go now." Behind Qing'er, the old man had been following her. He wanted to take her away, but Qing'er refused, so there was nothing he could do. After His Majesty ascended to the throne, he had always felt guilty towards the princess and doted on her. He even went to the extent of obtaining the great Nirvana immortal art for one of her requests. Such boldness and determination made his heart tremble. If he were to forcefully take Qing'er away, he wouldn't dare to do so. If he angered the princess, and she was unhappy in the future, then the result would be. And so, as a great general of the immortal nation, he could only run errands for the princess. Furthermore, he couldn't afford to make her unhappy. How pitiful. "Can you help me destroy the royal sacred sect?" Qing'er spoke in a cold voice. The countenance of the old man didn't fluctuate at all. It was as though destroying the royal sacred sect was as easy as lifting a finger. A mere hegemon of a world region, in his eyes, didn't amount to anything at all. Most probably, the amount of time he had lived was even longer compared to the history of the royal sacred sect. "Princess, what can you do after destroying the royal sacred sect?" the old man asked. On the path of pursuing the path of absolute experts, he would definitely encounter many powerful opponents. If he can't surpass them, he can only stagnate at a certain level or die. Even if I help him to destroy the royal sacred sect, there would still be another one. Don't tell me Princess wants to protect him forever. The old man was helpless. If he destroyed the royal sacred sect, would the princess leave with him? Seeing how much the princess cared for that young man, she most probably wouldn't be willing to leave. "Do you have any good ideas?" Qing'er's voice rang out. Her cold eyes stared at the old man as a hint of hope could be seen flickering in her eyes. The old man sighed in his heart when he saw the look in Qing'er's eyes. Seems like Princess Qing'er's love was too deep, there was no cure for it. However, Princess Qing had a request for him. If he could help Princess Qing'er settle this matter, Princess Qing'er would definitely remember him, right? Unless, he has the protection of an expert. It would be best if a supreme existence accepted him as a disciple and brought him out of the royal sacred region. If that's the case, he would have an easier time, and in the future, he would still have the chance to meet with Princess again. The old man slowly spoke, his words causing a bright light to flash in Qin Er's eyes. But I don't know any supreme existences. Qin Er frowned, feeling somewhat vexed. She hoped that if there was someone who accepted Qin Wentian as a disciple, it would be best if it was one of those supreme existences. This way, Qin Wentian's future would be smoother and there would be no need for her to protect him. The eyes of the old man flickered. If Princess requests it, this old slave is willing to pass on your words. His Majesty does have many good friends, but this old slave would like to remind you that supreme existences on the same level as His Majesty wouldn't casually accept disciples. Even if it was for the sake of His Majesty's face, it would only be a decoration and wouldn't protect the disciple. Everything still depends on the talent of the disciple. His talent would definitely not be a problem. Qin Er's eyes brightened as she stared at the old man. In that case, help me pass on my words. Princess. The old man stared at Qin Er as he called out. Qin Er asked, is there anything else? Princess, if this time around, if His Majesty agrees, Princess has no choice but to leave with this old slave. The old man sincerely stated. Qin Er's beautiful eyes froze for a moment before she turned her gaze to the horizons. There was a hint of reluctance in her eyes as a rare smile appeared on her face. All right then. Staring at the back view of Qin Er, the old man shook his head and sighed. He really didn't know what the princess was thinking. She had already witnessed his grand wedding, yet she was still so stubborn. Even if the princess didn't mind, could it be that His Majesty would allow his beloved daughter to share a man with others? No matter how outstanding that young man was, His Majesty wouldn't allow the princess to suffer such grievances, right? What an ill-fated relationship. The old man could only sigh silently. Back then, His Majesty must have made a mistake by sending the princess to such a remote region. The hegemon of the royal sacred region, the royal sacred sect, was still standing there. They were incomparably arrogant, and not long ago, they once said that everything under the heavens belonged to them. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that not long ago, the beauty who once threatened them, would almost cause their entire sect to be annihilated with a single thought. If it wasn't for the fact that the old man thought of another method, or if it wasn't for the fact that Qin Er didn't agree, the royal sacred sect would have already been erased from the royal sacred region. However, the royal sacred sect naturally wouldn't know of this matter. They were still waiting for Qin Wentian to come to the sacred royal city to receive his death. Qin Wentian naturally didn't know about this. That Snow Lotus Maiden had always been someone who didn't like to speak. But even so, she was still the same as before, silently protecting Qin Wentian from the shadows. Once, for the sake of obtaining the great Nirvana immortal art for Qin Wentian, she caused a huge commotion in the outside world. Once, she personally came to the royal sacred sect and threatened the hegemon of an era. Now, she was still silently worrying for him, protecting him. But all of these, Qin Wentian had no way of knowing. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged in an inn and cultivating. Dazzling runes of light flowed around his body. The runes of light flowed on the surface of his body and emitted a mysterious aura, as if they could condense into special runes. Stretching his palms towards the ground, crackling sounds rang out as the powder of the sky demon oracle bone was absorbed into his body. After which, it flowed through his arterial pathways into his body, completing the tempering process. After which, it transformed into runic lights that circulated around his body, repeating the process over and over again, causing his body to grow stronger and stronger. Even the flowing runic inscriptions gave off a sense of power. After a long time, he drew in a deep breath as the light circulating around his body faded away. He opened his eyes and stared at the sky demon oracle bone powder that had been cleanly absorbed by him. Right now, the amount of sky demon oracle bone powder I can collect is simply too little. Also, if I want to condense my fiend god physique, I would need the help of a true sky demon oracle bone. I'm afraid I won't be able to find one in the royal sacred region. Qin Wentian silently mused. The transaction ground in the sacred royal city was already the strongest in the royal sacred region, yet he still couldn't find a sky demon oracle bone. Most probably, it would be extremely difficult to find one in the entire royal sacred region. After pondering for a moment, Qin Wentian felt somewhat sullen. So what if he had talent? Without strength, he would still be a plaything in the hands of others. Although he could jump levels and kill third-level ascendants now, his foundation was still too shallow. His cultivation base wasn't high enough, and in front of a hegemon like the royal sacred sect, he was still extremely weak. At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. With a wave of his hands, a boundless amount of Yuan meteor stones piled up beside Qin Wentian. These were all the Yuan meteor stones Qin Wentian had, all of them were gathered here. Father, the you back then could cause immortals and devils to cry. But now, your child is actually feeling so sullen because of a mere royal sacred sect. I've truly weakened your prestige. With an intention of his will, Qin Wentian caused the Yuan meteor stones to float in the air, floating in different directions as they transformed into an incomparably gigantic divine inscription diagram. Let me take a look at the memories you left behind. Qin Wentian slammed his palms together, and instantly, the entire diagram lit up, transforming into boundless astral light that enveloped his body. That incomparably resplendent astral light frenziedly drilled into Qin Wentian's body. The rate at which the Yuan meteor stones were being consumed had reached an unheard-of level. Qin Wentian closed his eyes and guarded his consciousness, allowing the astral energy to rush into the tiny astral being in his sea of consciousness. Instantly, the tiny astral being shone with a resplendent light. The terrifying astral light directly brought Qin Wentian's consciousness into that boundlessly vast space, unceasingly entering the depths of the starry skies, searching for the memories his father left behind for him. The astral light shone resplendently, Qin Wentian's perception broke through unceasingly, frenziedly rushing towards an astral crystal. That should also be the core memories his father left behind for him. The amount of Yuan meteor stones in the external world was being depleted at an alarming rate. That astral crystal grew brighter and brighter, and finally, with a burst of intense light, Qin Wentian's perception was instantly dragged into another dimension. In this dimension, there was an imposing figure standing in the air. His mouth was currently chanting a series of complicated incantations, and every syllable of the incantation transformed into a terrifying runic light. That imposing figure shone with boundless immortal light, as though it was from the supreme primordial era, illuminating the entire space. Chapter 698. This imposing figure was none other than Qin Wentian's biological father. The immortal palace enveloped his body, illuminating the skies. On his body, every inch of his body was shimmering with a dazzling runic light. Bathed in the holy light, this imposing figure seemed even more extraordinary, akin to a heavenly deity descending to the mortal world, giving off an intense visual impact. The oracular chant continued unceasingly, the radiance of that figure towered up into the skies. This halo of light was akin to flames, yet also akin to true light. Amidst the pure white luster, a hint of gold could be seen flickering within, adding to the aura of a king. Rumble, Qin Wentian's consciousness trembled violently, as though it would collapse at any moment. That bitter oracular chant was akin to celestial music, directly gushing into his mind. When the figure in front of him turned around, Qin Wentian finally saw the face of that figure clearly. The owner of that face had a smile on his face, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble violently. That smile was gentle and warm, as though it was looking at him, smiling at him. Father. Qin Wentian's consciousness was directly jolted out, as his mind trembled violently. When he opened his eyes, Qin Wentian's eyes were slightly red, as a portion of the oracular chant appeared in his mind, as well as that gentle smile. It was as though his father had seen him, and was smiling at him. Qin Wentian also smiled. His smile was a little silly, but he was truly happy. Looking at that smile, this was the first time he truly felt that his father was by his side. His father had never left him, and had always been silently protecting him. This oracular chant. Qin Wentian mumbled, glancing at the vanishing Yuan meteor stones as he sighed in his heart. Wanting to obtain a strand of his father's memories was truly too difficult. Closing his eyes, Qin Wentian started to chant in a low voice, as a series of obscure oracular chant flowed out from his mouth. However, there was no other reaction. Qin Wentian unceasingly tried, again and again, gradually becoming more and more proficient with the oracular chant. His heart moved according to the oracular chant, and a surge of energy involuntarily circulated within his body, as though it was resonating with the oracular chant. At that moment, Qin Wentian noticed that the heart fire in his body seemed to tremble. This is a bloodline mantra. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. The incantation in his memory was obscure and hard to understand, like the sound of heaven, but he seemed to be born with the ability to chant. As he became more familiar with the incantation, he could vaguely understand its meaning. Now, he even triggered the rarely moving white light. In the past, Qin Wentian had always thought that the flame of the heart could be his second bloodline. This bloodline had saved his life twice in the past. It could protect his heart meridian and make him immune to all kinds of poisons. However, he had never been able to activate the power of this bloodline. Until now, this mnemonic chant seemed to have caused the flame of the heart to throb. Qin Wentian was immersed in it, chanting the incantation continuously. The heart fire in his body was beating slowly. It was very slow, but Qin Wentian could clearly feel its activity, as though it was recovering. It seems like this is really the mnemonic chant to activate the power of the bloodline. Qin Wentian thought in his heart. Without any distractions, he immersed himself in chanting the mnemonic chant again and again. After tens of thousands of times, the true meaning of the incantation was revealed. One day later, Qin Wentian was still chanting the incantation. At this moment, there was a resplendent brilliance on his body, like immortal light, illuminating his entire body. The brilliance was like wisps of candlelight. Each wisp of candlelight was like a terrifying rune, possessing a terrifying might. They enveloped Qin Wentian's body. As Qin Wentian chanted, the runes became more and more resplendent. The immortal light formed by the countless runes and candlelight was like a phenomenon of heaven and earth. At this moment, Qin Wentian was like an immortal king. Qin Wentian's body and blood seemed to be resonating with the mnemonic chant he was chanting. At this instant, Qin Wentian had a feeling that immortal light was protecting his body, impervious to all evils and poisons. Who? Exhaling a long breath, Qin Wentian opened his eyes. A resplendent beam of immortal light shot out, shooting towards the horizons, resembling a terrifying flame. Why is the power of this bloodline so unique? Qin Wentian mused. Just like what he had guessed in the past, this candlelight was indeed the power of his bloodline. However, it was an extremely unique bloodline that had the power to purify all evils, as well as a terrifying destructive might that could incinerate everything. Based on his feeling, if he unleashed his full strength, even third-level ascendants would die without a doubt if they were to be incinerated by this candlelight. But even so, his strength was still far from enough. His cultivation base was too low, only at the first level of celestial phenomenon. Although he had many trump cards, his constellation was strong, and he also had two powerful bloodlines, which ensured that he would be unrivaled among those at the same level. Even if he was 1 or 2 levels higher than him, what about 4th level and 5th level ascendants? What about those even stronger? The Royal Sacred Sect should have plenty of peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants. But even so, since the Royal Sacred Sect wanted to kill him and even threatened Yi and Grand Xia, he had to teach them an unforgettable lesson no matter what. He had to make them understand that even if the royal sacred sect was the hegemon of an entire region, disregarding the lives of the people in the world, there would be a day when the royal sacred sect would be expelled or even destroyed. Today was the 6th day of the 7-day deadline given by the royal sacred sect. The people of the sacred royal city were all paying attention to whether Qin Wentian would appear in the sacred royal city or head to the royal sacred sect to receive his death sentence. The sacred battle platform in the sacred royal city was extremely quiet today. After all, if one wanted to activate the sacred battle platform, they would have to fight against the famous heaven chosen of the royal sacred region. Every time the sacred battle platform was opened, the winner would always be a famous character of the royal sacred region. The sacred battle platform was also controlled by experts from the royal sacred sect. At this moment, several silhouettes appeared in front of the control formation. Impudent, no one is allowed to enter this place. Within the formation, the guardian of the royal sacred sect opened his eyes, gleaming with sharpness as a cold light radiated from him. Scram! Only to see one of the newcomers walking out. Instantly, a terrifying aura gushed forth, causing the countenance of the guardian of the sacred battle platform to turn ashen. For countless years, there has never been anyone who dared to seize control of the sacred battle platform. This place was the place where the royal sacred sect supervised the battles between the geniuses of the royal sacred region. Who are you guys? That guard stood up from the center of the formation, staring at the silhouettes as he coldly spoke. Yi Qingyun. The voice of the newcomer was extremely calm. Momentarily, that guard froze as he understood. Scram back to the royal sacred sect. Tell them that I, Yi Qingyun, along with my foster son, Qin Wentian, are waiting for them to kill me on the sacred battle platform. Yi Qingyun's voice shook the 9 heavens as terrifying sound waves engulfed the area, causing the void to tremble violently. Instantly, the hearts of those who heard his voice trembled violently. Qin Wentian and Yi Qingyun had arrived. However, they didn't head to the royal sacred sect to await death. Instead, they went to the sacred battle platform and even seized control of it. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. A raging wind gusted as the people of the royal sacred city sped towards the sacred battle platform. Their speed was extremely fast, as though they were afraid they would miss something. At the same time, the news of Qin Wentian and Yi Qingyun arriving on the sacred battle platform circulated around the entire royal sacred city. When the crowd arrived, they discovered Qin Wentian standing in the center of the platform with his eyes closed. On both sides of Qin Wentian, more and more experts arrived. These were none other than the experts from Yi as well as the Medicine Sovereign Valley. The experts from the royal sacred sect heard the news and immediately rushed over. Their gazes were extremely cold as they stared at Qin Wentian. You are here to await death, what's the point of you running all the way to the sacred battle platform? Since the royal sacred sect wants me to die, I, Qin, naturally know that I have no way to resist. However, I, Qin, want to die with dignity. I want to see if there are any experts from the royal sacred sect who dares to challenge me. I, Qin Wentian, am a first-level ascendant and I challenge anyone from the royal sacred sect who is at the 3rd level of celestial phenomenon, regardless of age. If I can do so, I, Qin Wentian, shall take my own life in front of everyone. Qin Wentian's eyes were still closed as he slowly continued, if the royal sacred sect, the hegemon of this world, doesn't even dare to agree to such a request, in that case, the title of the hegemon of the royal sacred region is nothing but an undeserved reputation. They don't even have a single man in their ranks. The hegemon of this world actually nurtured a bunch of good-for-nothings. This title is truly a joke. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the hearts of the spectators couldn't help but tremble as they stared at Qin Wentian with hints of sympathy in their eyes. Indeed, as the hegemon of this world, if the royal sacred sect wanted Qin Wentian to die, there was no way he could survive. Right now, he only wanted to die with dignity and dignity. If he was defeated, he would commit suicide. Such a tragic request, the royal sacred sect shouldn't reject it. They had no choice but to agree. If not, the people of this world would truly look down on this lofty hegemon of the royal sacred region. To the people of the royal sacred region, the royal sacred sect was sacred, lofty, and unreachable. They gathered the strongest geniuses under the heavens, and any one of them was a supreme genius, possessing the most dazzling talent. In the royal sacred region, the royal sacred sect was akin to a divinity. And now, Qin Wentian declared war against a divinity of the royal sacred region. Not only that, it was on the sacred battle platform. This caused the blood of the spectators to boil involuntarily. More and more experts arrived, including those from the royal sacred sect. The spectators were all filled with anticipation. Although they knew that Qin Wentian would die for sure, they still wanted to personally witness the most dazzling young man of the royal sacred region in the past 10,000 years, unleashing his final radiance. Would he fall in the hands of a second-level ascendant, or a third-level ascendant? They didn't know if a first-level ascendant from the royal sacred sect would be able to defeat Qin Wentian. Most probably, it would be extremely difficult. The golden-armored warship arrived. The experts who went to Grand Xia back then brought many experts from the royal sacred region with them. All of them stared at Qin Wentian, their countenances extremely cold. Qin Wentian actually dared to challenge Qin Wentian on the sacred battle platform in front of the eyes of the entire world. Not only that, the royal sacred sect didn't have any reason to reject him. This point was clear just by looking at the expressions of the spectators below. Everyone was filled with anticipation. Chapter 699. Sacred Emperor, Sacred Battle Platform, Sacred Royal City, Sacred Royal Medallion. Anything with the word sacred in it would definitely have an extraordinary meaning to the people of the royal sacred region. Qin Wentian's choice of the sacred battle platform could be said to be extremely intelligent. Right now, there were so many people gathered around the sacred battle platform and it was unknown how many of them were there to witness this scene. His request was so tragic, he only wanted to fight to the death. If the royal sacred sect didn't accept the challenge, what would the people of the sacred royal city think of them? In addition, where did the grudge between Qin Wentian and the royal sacred sect originate from? He was originally born for the sake of battle. He had once killed Xia Sheng in the royal sacred sect and was incomparably arrogant. But if the royal sacred sect wanted to kill him, the best method would be to send out even more outstanding geniuses to kill him. Only then would they be able to prove how outstanding the disciples of the royal sacred sect were, and prove that the pride and holiness of the royal sacred sect wasn't something that could be sullied. Qin Wentian, you are merely an ant. Are you even qualified to speak to my royal sacred sect? You don't even have the qualifications to issue a challenge. The expert on the golden-armored warship felt some trepidation. He had personally witnessed how Qin Wentian killed Qi Tai. It was simply too difficult for a first-level ascendant to kill Qin Wentian. Even in the royal sacred sect, it would be extremely difficult to find such a person. As for a second-level ascendant acting, with so many spectators, even if he managed to kill Qin Wentian, it wouldn't be a glorious thing. And if he was defeated, it would be even more shameful. How could it be compared to directly oppressing Qin Wentian? The royal sacred sect is truly pitiful. Yi Qingyun stood with his hands clasped behind his back as he emotionlessly spoke. The hegemon of the world, yet Qin Wentian isn't willing to participate in it. Hence, the royal sacred sect has no place for geniuses that are more outstanding than them. You don't even have the courage to accept the challenge. If the sacred emperor knew that you all rejected the challenge, I wonder if he would feel shame for you all. Impudent. A thunderous roar rang out as more and more experts from the royal sacred sect arrived. That expert surnamed Li who brought Qin Wentian to the Immortal Palace back then also arrived. He stood arrogantly in the air, staring at Qin Wentian as well as Yi Qingyun and the others as his countenance was extremely cold. Back then, he had given Qin Wentian a chance, inviting Qin Wentian to join the royal sacred sect, but Qin Wentian had rejected. Naturally at that time, he still didn't view Qin Wentian's weight too seriously. But he didn't expect that there would be such a storm of commotion after that. Beside this expert surnamed Li, Zai Qiu also arrived. His eyes were sinister as killing intent radiated unceasingly from within. He stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. It was none other than this man who almost killed him back then in the royal sacred sect. It was Xia Sheng who used his own life to exchange for Qin Wentian's. Of the three brothers, one died because Qin Wentian and Qin chose to save Fan Miaoyu, while the other was personally killed by Qin Wentian. But now, Qin Wentian was still alive and was provoking the royal sacred sect. Am I being impudent? Yi Qingyun's eyes flashed with arrogance as he stared at the air. He continued, the reason why the royal sacred sect is the hegemon of this world and is known as the sacred ground, it's merely an undeserved reputation. As long as the geniuses nurtured by the other powers, the vast majority of them would be accepted by your royal sacred sect, becoming disciples of your royal sacred sect. For those who didn't want to accept your invitation, you would suppress and kill them, even boasting that the entire world belongs to the royal sacred sect. Using the lives of countless people in Grand Xia to threaten me and Qin Wentian? Are you guys even qualified to be the hegemon of this world? Yi Qingyun's voice rang out, shaking the air for a radius of a few hundred miles. The hearts of the crowd were all filled with shock. The royal sacred sect actually said that the entire world belongs to the royal sacred sect. They actually dared to use the lives of countless people in Grand Xia to threaten Yi Qingyun and Qin Wentian. If this was the case, the royal sacred sect was truly too tyrannical. It was as though the lives of everyone in the world belonged to them. My royal sacred sect has been powerful for generations, our might shaking the world. Yi Qingyun, just a few words of yours, how can you sway the hearts of the people? The eyes of the expert surnamed Li flickered with anger, yet he still calmly spoke, his voice shaking the 9 heavens. Powerful for generations? I've already said that I want to challenge any third-level ascendant of the royal sacred sect, letting the world see how strong the geniuses nurtured by the royal sacred sect are. I want to know if they are worthy of being the hegemon of the royal sacred sect. Kill me and you will be able to prove it. Such a simple matter, why are you all still standing there? Qin Wentian stared at the expert surnamed Li as he sarcastically spoke. A towering aura gushed downwards as countless experts from the royal sacred sect appeared in the airspace above the sacred battle platform. Over 1,000 experts from the royal sacred sect descended as a stifling pressure bore down on everyone within a radius of a few hundred miles. This aura was simply too terrifying. GMO, go and kill him. The eyes of the expert surnamed Li flickered with killing intent as he emotionlessly spoke. From the crowd of the royal sacred sect, an expert walked out. This expert was none other than a junior of the royal sacred sect. He was clad in black and had a middle-aged appearance, exuding an extremely cold aura. GMO had cultivated for 130 years and was at the second level of celestial phenomenon. Although his cultivation base wasn't high, his foundation was extremely stable and his combat prowess was extremely strong. Among the younger generations of the G clan, GMO could be considered a rare combat genius. Even in the entire royal sacred sect, GMO's combat prowess could be ranked within the top 3. GMO had 2 constellations, one for offense and one for defense. It was an extremely compatible combination. At this moment, GMO's silhouette slowly descended, moving towards the sacred battle platform. Yi Qingyun controlled the sacred battle platform and closed the screen of light, allowing Qin Wentian and GMO to battle within. Before the battle ended, the sacred battle platform wouldn't be opened. Yi Qingyun's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He hoped that Qin Wentian's combat prowess wouldn't disappoint him. Today, they wanted to make the hegemon of the royal sacred sect fall from their divine pedestal, letting everyone see clearly that the hegemon of the royal sacred sect was nothing but a facade. The elites of the world didn't need to join the Royal Sacred Sect, they could similarly kill demon-level geniuses of the Royal Sacred Sect. The Royal Sacred Sect was merely an empty name. The world still belonged to the people of the world. If there weren't any elites joining the Royal Sacred Sect, the Royal Sacred Sect would only have a single peak-level Sacred Emperor left. On the Sacred Battle platform, the eyes of GMO seemed to contain a terrifying demonic power, becoming even more demonic. Qin Wentian stared at GMO with his hands clasped behind his back. Abruptly, beams of astral light flashed. Qin Wentian seemed to see countless pupils within the constellation, causing Qin Wentian to feel as though he was falling into a world of pupils, causing his state of mind to be thrown into chaos. I technique, constellation. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. The astral souls of stellar martial cultivators were all different. For some experts, their astral souls would be a pair of demonic eyes that contained the power of eye techniques. And after transforming into a constellation, the power of this eye technique would be amplified to an even greater extent. At this moment, in this entire world, it was as though there were only those dazzling pairs of eyes, GMO's silhouette could no longer be seen. That expert surnamed Li didn't casually allow GMO to fight against Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian challenged the Royal Sacred Sect in front of the entire world. Any defeat would definitely affect the prestige of the Royal Sacred Sect. He naturally hoped that the victor would be decided in a single battle, allowing Qin Wentian to commit suicide in front of the world, displaying the prestige of the Royal Sacred Sect. Qin Wentian's palms flashed with a resplendent light as he blasted out with a palm strike. With a thunderous boom, the changing pupils of GMO were directly destroyed. However, the pupils of Qin Wentian's eyes had a myriad of transformations, seemingly boundless, seemingly illusory yet also seemingly real. Seems like whether a celestial phenomenon ascendant is strong or not, to a large extent, the power of their constellation. Qin Wentian silently mused. The bewitching nature of this constellation was already extremely strong, far surpassing the level of hematite. It wouldn't be easy if he didn't unleash his constellation to kill his opponent. The changing pupils of GMO flickered in and out of existence, appearing right in front of Qin Wentian. Abruptly, numerous arms shot out from the pupils of GMO, transforming into a myriad of arms that blasted out with destructive might towards Qin Wentian. Bzzz. Releasing his astral souls, he manifested his constellation in an instant. Streams of incomparably resplendent light circulated around his body. His body shimmered with a strange runic light as demonic chi towered up into the sky. At the same time, the feathers of a golden rock appeared, stirring up the wind and clouds. Rumble, terrifying attacks bore down on the wings, causing Qin Wentian's body to tremble unceasingly. The attacks from the arms and the pupils of Qin Wentian were actually all real attacks, they weren't illusory at all. Crisp cracking sounds rang out as the golden wings on Qin Wentian's back shattered into pieces. However, at the same instant, Qin Wentian's dreamworld constellation enveloped this entire space as the omnipresent energy flowed through the air. Qin Wentian clenched his fist as a chaotic current of destruction destroyed all the illusory pupils. His opponent's constellation floated in the air once more, as though the control of this space was seized by Qin Wentian. At this moment, GMO's body floated in the air as another constellation appeared behind him, radiating a protective glow. Right now, his countenance was extremely unsightly to behold as he stared at Qin Wentian. Your constellation actually has the ability to seize domains? What kind of constellation is this? My dreamworld constellation. In my dreamworld, the energy that belongs to me is omnipresent. Qin Wentian slowly spoke as a terrifying destructive might circulated in the air. His palms blasted out as the energy in the air transformed into a towering gigantic palm imprint that directly smashed out. With an intention of his will, GMO activated the boulder light to protect himself. The terrifying gigantic palm imprint smashed downwards, only to hear the sound of cracking sounds echoing out as his protective energy shattered apart. However, the energy from his constellation continued to flow into his surroundings, merely protecting him. Such a defensive power was simply too terrifying, even second-level ascendants wouldn't be able to break through this layer of protection. Your attack power is very strong, but if it's merely this, I'm afraid it isn't enough to break through my constellation. GMO stepped out as the countless pupils in the air once again shone with a demonic light. Even you can't kill me, what's the point of me coming here? Qin Wentian icily spoke as demonic qi gushed forth from him. His entire person transformed into the silhouette of a golden rock as boundless sword might gushed forth. At this moment, every part of his body seemed to contain an indomitable might. Bzzz. A raging wind tore apart the void as a golden beam of light illuminated the heavens and earth. The energy from the Dreamworld constellation transformed into a towering radiance that enveloped the golden rock's wings, causing them to be countless times sharper compared to real swords. Chi, chi. A hurricane descended from the skies as the 1,000-meter-long wings slashed downwards. At this instant it was as though countless wings were shining with a dazzling light as they slashed towards GMO. Gmo's countenance drastically changed. Astral light circulated around his entire body as the energy from the boulder light enveloped him. It was as though he was clad in an armor made of boulder astral might, his defense was indestructible. The golden wings slashed down, slashing against the boulder light as sparks of flames could be seen. However, the wings weren't obstructed at all and continued slashing downwards, piercing into the boulder armor. Gmo's countenance was filled with terror, yet he was already powerless to reverse the situation. A beam of golden light slashed downwards as his body was cleaved into two. Chapter 700. Gmo's body lay on the sacred battle platform. Qin Wentian's palms trembled as he directly blasted out a palm imprint. An instant later, a beam of destructive light directly destroyed the body of the royal sacred sect, turning it into dust. GMO, a second-level ascendant of the royal sacred sect, was defeated, dead. The screen of light on the sacred battle platform opened. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the increasing number of experts from the royal sacred sect. This was the first time Qin Wentian had seen such a powerful lineup. As expected of the hegemon of the royal sacred region, it was unknown how many experts they had gathered. Just a single command from them was sufficient to shock an entire region. Just to kill me, they actually sent out such a lineup. How laughable! Qin Wentian mocked. The entire space was so silent that it was terrifying. Countless silhouettes gathered around the sacred battle platform, all of them were stunned by Qin Wentian's strength as well as the strength of the royal sacred sect. How strong was the determination of the royal sacred sect to kill Qin Wentian? However, they also discovered that Qin Wentian also had a group of experts gathered around him. These should be experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley. If the royal sacred sect's strength wasn't enough, it wouldn't be easy for them to kill Qin Wentian. However, Qin Wentian had already said that as long as there was someone at the third level of celestial phenomenon who could defeat him, he would commit suicide here. Could it be that the royal sacred sect, a transcendent power that was 2 levels higher than him, still couldn't kill Qin Wentian? No matter how demon-level Qin Wentian was, this sounded somewhat ridiculous. Gmo's death naturally caused the royal sacred sect to lose face. If they directly attacked and killed Qin Wentian now, it would instead cause the royal sacred sect to be in an even more awkward position. Everyone would think that their royal sacred sect truly had no other experts. Who should we send to fight? At the front of the royal sacred sect, someone transmitted his voice to those beside him. This young man's combat prowess is truly terrifying. His constellation should be powerful as well, and he should have fused a total of 4 true intents. I'm afraid we have to send out third-level ascendants. How about letting Dong Yu fight against him? Dong Yu was one of the strongest third-level ascendants in the royal sacred sect. His combat prowess was flawless, and the balance between his attacks and defense was almost perfect. Is Dong Yu here? Someone asked. No, do I need to inform him to come? Everyone secretly conversed, and it all happened in an extremely short period of time. Dong Yu is here. Moreover, not only Dong Yu, but he is also back. Qin Wentian is doomed. At this moment, that expert surnamed Li transmitted his voiceover, causing everyone to be stunned. At this moment, there seemed to be another group of people approaching from afar. A group of people directly passed through the crowd of people from the royal sacred sect as they moved forward. That expert surnamed Li and the others stared at this group of people, and when they saw the young man in the lead, they were all stunned for a moment before expressions of joy flashed in their eyes. The young man in the lead wore a blue embroidered robe and a violet gold crown that bound his hair. His angular face was neat as if it had been carved by a blade, and his eyes shot out cold stars that faintly possessed a breathtaking sheen. Those accompanying him were all extraordinary characters. There were elder-level characters from the core faction, as well as heaven's chosen of the royal sacred sect. Dong Yu was one of them. Other than this, there were also a few other young men with extraordinary demeanor standing beside him. Their positions were even closer to the blue-robed young man compared to Dong Yu. Zai Xian, you have returned. That expert surnamed Li nodded to the young man as a warm smile could be seen in his eyes. Such warmth was something he had never shown even when facing Zai Qiu. Uncle Ji. Zai Xian nodded to that expert surnamed Li, elder brother Xian. Zai Qiu respectfully greeted. This Zai Xian had the same surname as him, the surname of the sacred emperor. There was no need to mention his identity, he was a descendant of the sacred emperor. However, his status in the royal sacred sect was many times higher compared to Zai Qiu. Zai Xian glanced at Zai Qiu as he continued, I've heard of your matter. No wonder you weren't chosen by the sacred emperor to roam the world with me. You can't even handle the people here, you have to work harder in the future. Yes, elder brother Xian. Zai Qiu no longer had any arrogance in his tone as he obediently replied. The royal sacred sect had been the hegemon of the royal sacred region for many years. The current sacred emperor naturally wasn't the first-generation sacred emperor. Every generation of sacred emperors would select the most outstanding ones from the younger generations to be personally nurtured. After that, they would send them out of the royal sacred region to roam the world. These chosen ones were all sacred princes who had the potential to break through to the legendary realm. Once one of them succeeded, they would inherit the position of the sacred emperor and nurture another sacred emperor in addition to cultivating. This was their mission, only then would they be able to firmly control the royal sacred region. As for those who weren't chosen, they would remain in the royal sacred region to cultivate. Depending on their strength, they would assume different positions in the royal sacred sect, ensuring that the royal sacred sect would prosper and flourish. Zai Xian was the only sacred prince of Zai Qiu's generation that was chosen. In the future, he had the possibility to inherit the position of the sacred emperor. Even if he didn't manage to step into that realm, if he was willing to return to the royal sacred sect, he would be able to assume a core position. Zai Xian, why did you return? An expert from the royal sacred sect asked. This person was none other than an elder of Zai Xian. It's hard for you to understand even if I say it out loud. I'm still not sure about this matter, I only received a strand of news. If this matter is confirmed, the entire royal sacred region would be in an uproar. I wonder how many experts from the outside world would step into our royal sacred region. Zai Xian faintly replied, his words causing bewilderment to appear on the faces of everyone. They had no way to understand the meaning behind Zai Xian's words. Zai Xian seemed to be saying that a shocking event would happen in the royal sacred region. However, he had no way to confirm it now. Let's settle the matters here first. Zai Xian faintly spoke. His gaze turned to Qin Wentian who was on the sacred battle platform. He was also born in the royal sacred region, how could he not know about the sacred battle platform? Is he the one who almost killed you? Zai Xian asked Zai Qiu who was beside him. Zai Qiu's countenance was sinister as he stared at Qin Wentian. The killing intent in his eyes didn't diminish in the slightest. You can't even deal with such a country bumpkin. You should really reflect on your actions. Zai Qian's voice was calm. What kind of storms and waves had he not seen before in the outside world? Any one of these geniuses could cause the sun and moon to lose their luster if they were placed in the royal sacred region. Since his vision was too high, the so-called geniuses of the royal sacred region naturally wouldn't be able to enter his eyes. In his eyes, they were like country bumpkins. Honestly speaking, the geniuses of the royal sacred region were nothing more than ordinary mortals. In his generation, the sacred emperor only selected him to go out. There were many others who could be considered supreme demon-level geniuses in the royal sacred region, yet the sacred emperor didn't choose to bring them out. From this point alone, it was only normal that Zai Qian would look down on the geniuses of the royal sacred region. When the crowd heard Zai Qian reprimanding Zai Qiu, and how the people of the royal sacred sect were all so respectful to him, they couldn't help but to have expressions of bewilderment on their faces. What was the identity of this young man exactly? He actually had such prestige, becoming the core of the royal sacred sect the moment he arrived. Not only for him, even the few young men beside Zai Qian all exuded extraordinary auras. Is the royal sacred sect going to fight or not? Qin Wentian couldn't help but coldly ask when he saw the people of the royal sacred sect chatting, completely forgetting about him. Not only that, the cultivation base of this young man was only at the third level of celestial phenomenon, yet his tone was extremely arrogant, referring to him as a country bumpkin. Just you. Are you even qualified to challenge my royal sacred sect? Zai Qian coldly glanced at Qin Wentian. Not qualified? An expression of interest appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he stared at Zai Qian in the air. He then sarcastically replied, I'm fighting against people of the royal sacred sect. If it wasn't for the fact that the royal sacred sect is protecting Zai Qiu, I would have long since killed him. I truly admire you for having the face to say such words. Zai Qian frowned as a cold intent flickered in his eyes. He coldly snorted, how would you know how vast the heavens are? Puchi. A young woman beside Zai Qian laughed. This woman was clad in a tight-fitting long dress that accentuated her voluptuous figure, causing people to feel impulsive. Her skin was extremely fair, and her eyes were extremely bright. She was a perfect example of a beauty, and her demeanor was extraordinary. Zai Qian, you said that the sect you are in is the ruler of an entire region. But why do I feel that it's a little scary? Even a country bumpkin dares to disregard you. That beautiful young woman giggled. She was none other than Zai Qian's friend, Lu Ziyan. Her relationship with Zai Qian wasn't bad. Zai Qian wanted to woo her, but she neither agreed nor rejected, maintaining their friendship. As to why she didn't agree, it was because from her perspective, Zai Qian was only a so-so and wasn't too outstanding. She didn't reject him because the Zai Qian clan was the hegemon of an entire region. Her clan also had experts at the Saint Emperor realm. But although such clans could be considered powerful in the outside world, they were different when compared to a hegemon of an entire region. A hegemon of an entire region could easily obtain an endless supply of resources. A region was an incomparably shocking amount of wealth that belonged to the country bumpkin. Lu Ziyan had obtained quite a lot of benefits from Zai Qian. This was also the reason why she kept trying to bait Zai Qian. Who doesn't know how to talk big? Zai Qian smiled at Lu Ziyan. Ziyan, these country bumpkins are short-sighted and have no experience. Yet, they claim to be geniuses. Not only that, they are filled with hot-bloodedness and have no fear of death. How laughable and pathetic. I've faintly discovered this point. Lu Ziyan glanced at the formation of the royal sacred sect. Killing the young man standing below would be extremely easy. However, that young man was truly courageous and had no fear at all. Not only that, his demeanor was extraordinary as well. His handsome face was filled with arrogance, exuding a sense of fiendishly good looks. However, a country bumpkin was still a country bumpkin. No matter how extraordinary his demeanor was, Lu Zian, wouldn't place a country bumpkin in her eyes unless that country bumpkin underwent a transformation in the outside world. It wasn't that there weren't such people, but they were extremely rare, 1 in 10 million. Dong Yu, go and kill him. Zai Xian glanced at a young man beside him. It was none other than Dong Yu. From his perspective, given Dong Yu's strength, it should be very easy for him to kill a country bumpkin. The eyes of this country bumpkin seemed to be filled with arrogance, staring at him with a mocking gaze. This caused him to feel a sense of ridicule. However, in the eyes of Qin Wentian, how could Zai Xian's actions not be laughable? Chapter 701. Dong Yu walked towards the battle platform. His body floated in the air as he stared disdainfully at Qin Wentian. Your talent can be considered pretty good in the perspective of the royal sacred region. Although you did some wrong things before, my royal sacred sect could still tolerate you and allow you to join us. However, you chose to walk step by step towards the abyss. I truly feel pity for you. Now, there's no path of return, only death is left for you. Dong Yu was a third-level ascendant and could be considered an extremely dazzling character in the royal sacred sect. In the future, he was already destined to be one of the upper echelons of the core faction of the royal sacred sect. Before this, he didn't even come here personally. It was only because Zai Xian returned and wanted to take a look that he tagged along. Who would have thought that he would actually need to act personally to kill someone? The disparity between the first and third level of celestial phenomenon was extremely vast. The strength of a constellation, as well as the amount of energy one could borrow from their constellation, were all many times stronger. Not to mention, the aura of a constellation would surge forth, as well as the strength of their attacks. Not only was Dong Yu confident, the experts of the royal sacred sect were all extremely confident in him as well. If Dong Yu personally acted, this time around, Qin Wentian would definitely die for sure. Do the people of the royal sacred sect only know how to use their mouths to fight? Qin Wentian teasingly stared at Dong Yu, causing a cold smile to appear on Dong Yu's face. After which, he descended onto the stone pillar on the battle platform. The light screen on the platform closed as Dong Yu unleashed his constellation. Astral light illuminated the entire sky, but the place where the light was the most intense was actually behind Dong Yu, where the silhouette of the Frost Monarch manifested. This constellation was an ice and snow constellation. In just an instant, the entire sacred battle platform transformed into a world of ice and snow. Everything was covered in a vast expanse of whiteness as a desolate cold chi permeated the air. Above the constellation, there seemed to be traces of ice and snow cascading downwards, each and every one of them capable of freezing people to death. Behind Dong Yu, the silhouette of the Frost Monarch manifested from ice and snow. Its eyes were snow-white in color, as though it could freeze the souls of those who stared at it. The ice and snow from the constellation unceasingly congregated around the Frost Monarch, causing the coldness within to be so great that ordinary ascendants wouldn't dare to get close to it. It was too cold, bone-chilling cold. A constellation was born from an astral soul. Dong Yu's constellation seemed to have returned to his astral soul. This was a type of manifestation of a constellation. Celestial phenomenon ascendants would be able to control it more freely, borrowing the power of their constellation to manifest such a phenomenon. That silhouette of the frigid monarch was precisely the condensed form of a constellation. The energy of the constellation unceasingly gathered around it, causing it to possess an extremely powerful might. Cold. This was what Qin Wentian was feeling at the moment. The coldness went deep into his bones and even into his soul, making him shiver involuntarily. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with demonic light as his dreamworld constellation appeared. Two constellations faintly overlapped with each other. Qin Wentian's dreamworld constellation was in the center of the Frigid King's constellation, while Qin Wentian's dreamworld constellation was also present. Two different types of energy flowed within this space. One of them was extremely cold, while the other was filled with destructive energy particles. A cold wind gusted by as the frigid qi transformed into a tempest, churning frenziedly in this space. Dong Yu coldly stood on the stone pillar, staring at the silhouette of Qin Wentian in front of him. His palms grabbed out in the air as a gigantic frost palm imprint appeared, freezing everything in its path. At this instant, Qin Wentian could clearly feel a terrifying wave of coldness gushing over, freezing everything in its path. Qin Wentian's body shimmered with light as the terrifying light converged into an ancient halberd that abruptly pierced out. Numerous halberd scars appeared in the air as boundless destructive light congregated at a single point, erupting forth in an instant, colliding with the gigantic palm imprint. With a thunderous boom, the halberd was directly torn apart. Your attack power isn't bad. Seems like your comprehension of true intent is truly impressive. However, the disparity in cultivation base isn't so easy to make up for. Dong Yu stepped out as the frigid king congregated behind him, unleashing a terrifying frost tempest, unceasingly blasting towards Qin Wentian. The power of the frost tempest blotted out the skies and covered the earth as it swept outwards. Gusts of wind intent gushed towards Qin Wentian, causing his skin to show signs of freezing to death. His countenance flashed with a resplendent astral light as his body abruptly expanded. His robes were shredded to shreds as he donned an astral armor. Runic light circulated around his body as his body became indestructible, akin to a fiend god that could suppress everything. Dong Yu's silhouette got closer and closer. The frost tempest formed by the frigid king was akin to countless icy blades, unceasingly gushing towards Qin Wentian. In the air, a millstone of destructive frost tempest appeared, seemingly boundless and limitless, slashing towards Qin Wentian. How cold! Qin Wentian's body was covered by a layer of frost. This kind of coldness was so cold that it could freeze people to death. The frost qi could corrode into one's body, destroying all vitality within. Qin Wentian's entire body was showing signs of freezing. Qi, qi. Sharp sounds rang out from Qin Wentian's body. That frost energy wanted to shatter his defenses, causing his four limbs to stiffen. Although his defense was extremely strong, if he kept on defending, his vitality would be frozen to death sooner or later. Dong Yu, who was at the third level of celestial phenomenon, was indeed very powerful. Die! Dong Yu coldly snorted. Within the frost tempest formed by the frigid king, a grand frost annihilation palm imprint descended from the skies, directly pressing towards Qin Wentian. A terrifying destructive energy circulated around Qin Wentian's body. Demonic qi churned unceasingly as his aura soared upwards. His palms trembled as he stabbed out with his halberd. Boundless energy was contained within, wanting to destroy everything. Bang! The ancient halberd directly pierced into the descending palm imprint, shattering it apart. However, the frost energy continued to flow downwards. Dong Yu coldly snorted. The frigid king roared in rage as he sent out yet another grand frost annihilation palm imprint. When Qin Wentian inclined his head, he only saw the frigid king frenziedly blasting out palm imprints, covering the entire space. Qin Wentian's attack speed was extremely fast. The ancient halberd in his hands pierced out unceasingly, causing rumbling sounds to echo unceasingly as the palm imprints shattered one after another. His palms grabbed out in the air as runic light flashed. His palms seizing stars directly blasted towards Dong Yu. Dong Yu coldly snorted. Activating the frigid king's protection, he actually managed to block Qin Wentian's attack with his palms. Suppressed, Qin Wentian is being suppressed. This Dong Yu's combat prowess is so powerful. The heaven chosen of the royal sacred sect is indeed powerful, but he is 2 levels higher than Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's combat prowess is already extremely terrifying. The hearts of the spectators mused. They only saw Dong Yu getting closer and closer as he frenziedly blasted out attacks. Qin Wentian's fiend god form seemed to have traces of turning into ice. How do you think you can fight against me? Dong Yu's arrogant voice rang out. Qin Wentian's body shone with a resplendent golden rock light. With a flap of his wings, he retreated, yet Dong Yu directly rushed over. Dong Yu's palms blasted out in the air as the entire space around him froze. The power of ice blocked Qin Wentian's retreat, and for every step he took, the frozen space would emit cracking sounds. Freezing annihilation finger. Dong Yu's eyes gleamed with coldness as he gathered the might of the frigid king. His finger stabbed out in the direction of Qin Wentian. The heavens and earth howled as the formless freezing annihilation energy gushed forth, permeating every inch of this space, corroding Qin Wentian's body. In an instant, Qin Wentian's defenses were broken through as he felt a sense of his body being frozen. The coldness caused his entire body to tremble as the energy in his body flowed unsmoothly. Dong Yu's strength can also be considered powerful in my royal sacred sect. It's extremely easy for him to kill this ignorant brat. In the air, Zai Xian spoke to Lu Ziyan who was beside him. Not bad, but I didn't personally experience the strength of that energy. I don't know how strong it is exactly. However, the strength of that country bumpkin isn't bad as well. A genius of your royal sacred sect killing a low-level country bumpkin isn't something to be proud of, right? Lu Ziyan laughed. A battle between country bumpkins didn't seem to be able to stir her interest. Ziyan, you naturally wouldn't be interested in their battle. Zai Xian laughed. I wonder if that news is true or false. If it's true, Ziyan, our horizons would truly be broadened. At that time, I wonder how many demon-level geniuses would gather in our royal sacred region. I'm also filled with anticipation. Lu Ziyan's beautiful eyes flashed with a dazzling light. It's just that I feel that this is a little surreal. According to what you said, this royal sacred region should be one of the weaker regions. If that supreme existence wanted to recruit a disciple, it's unknown how many geniuses would rush over to recruit him. Why would he choose such a remote place like the royal sacred region? What's so bad about that? Who knows, maybe we would have a chance as well. Zai Xian laughed. Oh. Lu Ziyan felt disdain in her heart, but she still smiled. If you can become the disciple of that supreme existence, even if you are just an outer disciple, I will immediately marry you. You can do whatever you want to me. Really? Zai Xian glanced at the graceful curves of Lu Ziyan as a look of greed flashed in his eyes. He has wanted to eat this woman for a very long time, but this woman was too intelligent. She kept whetting his appetite, causing him to have no choice but to continue contacting her. Naturally. But Zai Xian, do you have that capability? Lu Ziyan giggled, causing Zai Xian's countenance to darken. Indeed, if such a supreme existence wanted to recruit a disciple, how could it be Zai Xian's turn? He was completely unqualified. If he competed, he wouldn't be able to win against those supreme geniuses. Hee. Lu Ziyan laughed when she saw Zai Xian's expression. After which, she continued staring at the sacred battle platform. Over there, Qin Wentian's body seemed to be undergoing a transformation. Around him, a resplendent light could be seen radiating forth, incomparably resplendent. Bzz. An intense beam of light flashed, the resplendent violet gold light illuminated the entire sacred battle platform. In the center of the sacred battle platform, a violet gold astral soul appeared, causing the smile on Zai Xian's face to freeze. The smile on Lu Ziyan's face also froze abruptly, frozen in place at this instant. What astral soul is that? It actually has a violet gold halo? Many people mumbled. This was the first time they saw an astral soul with such a luster. Don't tell me that this is the legendary 7th heavenly layer astral soul. Someone thought of a possibility as his heart pounded violently. Chapter 702. Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan were both knowledgeable people. They were different from the majority of the people in the royal sacred region. Within the royal sacred region, very few people knew what an astral soul from the seventh heavenly layer would look like. At most, they would have heard of it before. However, Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan came from outside the royal sacred region. They naturally understood what the radiance of Qin Wenqian's astral soul signified. The more they understood, the more astonishment they felt in their hearts. How is this possible? An expression of disbelief flashed in Zai Xian's eyes. He even doubted his own eyes. This should be Qin Wenqian's fifth astral soul. But even so, he clearly knew how rare it was for an astral soul to be condensed from an astral soul from the seventh heavenly layer. Those who could condense an astral soul from the seventh heavenly layer were all heaven's chosen from the transcendent powers. Their radiance was incomparably dazzling. Yet the person in front of him was merely a country bumpkin in his eyes. Such a contrast caused Zai Xian to feel a sense of surrealism, as well as an intense sense of shock. A country bumpkin whom he had ridiculed had actually condensed a violet gold astral soul. Looking at the countenance of that country bumpkin, there were no fluctuations in his expression. Most probably, even he himself didn't know what a violet gold astral soul signified. Qin Wenqian indeed wasn't very clear. He knew that the first astral soul he condensed was from an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer. But after that, his second and third astral souls were condensed from the fifth heavenly layer. He only broke through after condensing his fourth astral soul and condensing his fifth astral soul from the seventh heavenly layer. He felt that this shouldn't be something to be proud of. Maybe, many heavens chosen would also be able to achieve this. For example, back then when he saw the Dark Shadow Sovereign's constellation, he already knew that his constellation was condensed from an astral soul from the sixth heavenly layer. Since the Dark Shadow Sovereign could condense an astral soul from the sixth heavenly layer, there would definitely be many others who could do the same. The seventh heavenly layer wasn't that conspicuous. But in reality, Qin Wenqian's thinking was wrong. It wasn't difficult to condense an astral soul from the sixth heavenly layer, but if one wanted to break through to the seventh heavenly layer, it would be as difficult as ascending the heavens. The perception of stellar martial cultivators towards the constellations wasn't something that could be achieved in a single step. It was something that could be strengthened bit by bit, as one's cultivation base increased. Hence, to many stellar martial cultivators in the royal sacred region, when their first astral soul originated from the first heavenly layer, their second astral soul would at most be from the second heavenly layer, and their third astral soul would at most be from the third heavenly layer. After that, they might not even be able to break through to the third heavenly layer. But for some geniuses, condensing an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer was already a heavenly realm. Was already considered a point. From the heaven of Tian, the Tian of. And there, the heavenly Tian of heavenly clan. The king from the heavenly clan of the astral Tian, they could. Tian of which, their, astral had, they had. From of it, the emperor from, emperor sect, family sect from the emperor. Of clan, king, kings, sect from, they, one, if, one, they, one, and one, emperor, one, from one. Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan's horizons were broadened. Such geniuses, in their world, couldn't be considered heaven's chosen, they could only be considered characters with slightly better talent. But even in the outside world, the combination of geniuses should be 4, 5, 6, or even 4, 5, 6, for those who were even more outstanding, they could condense an astral soul from the sixth heavenly layer on their fourth astral soul. But even in the outside world, the combination of geniuses should be 4, 5, 6, or even 4, 5, 6, even more outstanding ones would be 4, 5, 6, 6, and the last type of combination would be 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, and the last type of combination would be 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, naturally. There were also extremely rare demon-level characters in the outside world. Their first astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer, and their combination would be 5, 5, 5, 6, 6. Such a combination would definitely be considered a supremely powerful combination. Even more heaven-defying were those legendary characters. Their first astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer. Only then would they be able to condense an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer. Only then would they be able to condense an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer. After stepping into the celestial phenomenon realm, they would consume some heavenly and earthly treasures to increase their compatibility with the astral energy, strengthening their perception and will. From there, they would be able to condense their fifth astral soul and step into the seventh heavenly layer. For such characters, Lu Ziyan had never personally seen them before. She would only occasionally hear the elders of the royal sacred region talking about the glorious history of these characters. At this moment, she saw a violet gold astral soul in the body of a country bumpkin in the royal sacred region. Lu Ziyan rubbed her eyes to confirm that she didn't see wrongly. A strange expression involuntarily flashed through her beautiful eyes. In the outside world, there were also stories of some country bumpkins of the royal sacred region who had cleansed themselves of all impurities, becoming supreme characters that exuded magnificence throughout the generations. These country bumpkins were actually even more terrifying because they climbed up step by step from the bottom up. Their will and determination were extremely tough, and their combat prowess at the same cultivation level was terrifying to the extreme. Lu Ziyan faintly felt that she might have found a country bumpkin who had the potential to blossom with radiance. As she thought of this, her eyes involuntarily brightened as she stared at Qin Wentian. At this moment, when Lu Ziyan glanced at Qin Wentian again, she could feel that Qin Wentian was extremely handsome. That sharp edge, that devilishly handsome countenance, all of them exuded a sense of unyielding determination. His eyes glowed with life, and there was even a faint trace of an unexcelled sovereign descending from the heavens. Although this sounded a little strange, Qin Wentian's aura was just there. Earlier, Lu Ziyan didn't notice it, but now, her eyes brightened as she discovered it. Actually, this was all because her state of heart had changed. At the start, when she looked at the people here, she had the attitude of looking at country bumpkins. Even if Qin Wentian was extraordinary, she only felt that he was interesting. That arrogance, in her eyes, was just ignorance and didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. But now, things were different. Those laughable flaws suddenly became the shining points of light. Zai Xian, your royal sacred sect didn't go all out to recruit such a character but instead sent out such a powerful group to hunt him down. Seems like the people of your royal sacred sect are the ones who don't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Lu Ziyan had a mocking expression on her face. She wasn't afraid that Zai Xian would be angry. In any case, Zai Xian was the one pursuing her, not the other way around. Zai Xian's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. He turned his gaze onto those upper echelons of the royal sacred sect only to see that they were all stunned by the astral souls Qin Wentian released. However, the eyes of the expert surnamed Li flickered with coldness as he spoke. Sir, you might not know this, but this man is extremely arrogant. Our royal sacred sect has invited him many times to join us, yet he rejected every single time. Not only that, he actually slaughtered his way into our royal sacred sect. Our royal sacred sect tolerated him, yet he grew even more arrogant. Lu Ziyan noncommittally laughed. She stared at the battlefield on the sacred battle platform as she spoke. I'm afraid third-level ascendants like you all might not be able to kill him. Leaving aside the others, even the experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley as well as Yi Qingyun were momentarily stunned when they saw Qin Wentian releasing his astral souls. After which, they drew in a deep breath, feeling an intense shock in their hearts. A violet gold astral soul. Was this an astral soul from the seventh heavenly layer? The astral soul that appeared behind Qin Wentian was none other than his fifth astral soul. This astral soul was condensed from a human-shaped constellation from the seventh heavenly layer. Above his violet gold astral soul, a heaven-suppressing silhouette could be seen, resembling an immortal king that could suppress the heavens. Boundless runic light circulated around its body, and it was as though every strand of runic light contained a terrifying might within. The aura radiating from this astral soul was unimaginably powerful. It was as though there was a boundless amount of astral light circulating around it, suppressing everything around Qin Wentian. Dong Yu was facing directly against Qin Wentian. When his astral soul was released, the impact on him was the most intense. However, as expected of a heaven chosen of the royal sacred sect, he instantly adjusted his state of mind. The Frost King's silhouette radiated a frigid underworld qi that spanned tens of millions of meters, directly enveloping the heavens and earth as it gushed towards Qin Wentian. Die! Dong Yu once again stabbed out a finger at Qin Wentian. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's divine light was as dazzling as lightning. His palms glowed with a resplendent violet gold runic light as his arms expanded explosively. Boundless runic light smashed downwards, instantly suppressing the entire space. Dong Yu's body violently shuddered as he felt his body stiffening. The boundless suppressive might bore down on him, enveloping this entire space. However, at this moment, Dong Yu pressed his palms together and closed his eyes. In an instant, astral light flowed in reverse as another resplendent constellation appeared. This was Dong Yu's second type of constellation. In an instant, the snowy world formed by the Frost King transformed into lava from hell, melting the entire world. One ice, one fire, one cold, one hot. It was as though the power of two extremes was reversed in the blink of an eye. Endless streams of scorching heat gushed towards Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel as though he was about to be melted into ashes. In that instant of change, the destructive might was so overwhelming that Qin Wentian felt cracks appearing on his body, as though it was about to break apart. Incomparably resplendent runic light circulated around his entire body. At the same time, his palms blasted out in the air as a supreme suppressive might bore down on all 8 directions. The runic light transformed into a resplendent diagram, enveloping the entire space. After which, Qin Wentian stepped out, coldly staring at Dong Yu. A completely different type of constellation. Dong Yu's strength was truly shocking, as expected of a demon-level genius of the royal sacred sect. But even so, Qin Wentian would definitely kill him today. The entire space was still within the Dreamworld constellation. Within the constellation, the omnipresent destructive might interweaved. Violet gold runic light circulated around Qin Wentian. He stomped heavily on the ground, suppressing the space around him. With a wave of his hand, boundless suppressive might blasted towards Dong Yu. Dong Yu countered with his palms, alternating between hot and cold as his attacks towered up into the sky. Qin Wentian carried his astral soul on his back as his palms blasted out with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. His palms blasted out with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas, causing countless afterimages to appear. In a short instant, the entire space was filled with a boundless suppressive might. The towering violet gold runic light suppressed Dong Yu within a small space, causing him to become smaller and smaller. Finally, when the violet gold runic diagram closed, the suppressive might directly crushed Dong Yu into nothingness as his soul dissipated. A heaven chosen of the royal sacred sect was killed alive. Chapter 703. Dong Yu, a heaven chosen of the royal sacred sect with a cultivation base at the 3rd level of celestial phenomenon. Qin Wentian wasn't willing to join the royal sacred sect. His cultivation base was at the 1st level of celestial phenomenon and he was ranked 1st in the immortal martial realm. His talent was above the 8 era-suppressing geniuses, and his 5th astral soul was violet gold in color. The two of them fought on the sacred battle platform and Qin Wentian killed Dong Yu. There was no need to say anything more about the difference in talent. Dong Yu was 2 levels higher than Qin Wentian, yet he was still killed. The so-called geniuses of the Royal Sacred Sect were nothing more than a joke in front of Qin Wentian. Just like what Qin Wentian and Yi Qingyun had said, the Royal Sacred Sect was the hegemon of this world. The reason why they were strong was because they had recruited the elites of the world. As for the demon-level geniuses they nurtured, they were killed by Qin Wentian, who was 2 levels higher than them. No words could be more convincing than actions. At this moment, the countenances of the experts from the Royal Sacred Sect turned ashen. Dong Yu's death on the sacred battle platform was undoubtedly a slap in the face by Qin Wentian in front of everyone in the world. The hegemon of this world didn't live up to its name. The screen of light on the sacred battle platform opened. Yi Qingyun stared at the air as he emotionlessly spoke. If there were no people under the heavens, how would there be a Royal Sacred Sect? What's laughable is that the current Royal Sacred Sect proclaims themselves to be the hegemon of this world, treating the lives of the people under the heavens like weeds. They actually used Yi and Grand Xia to threaten me and Qin Wentian. How lamentable. If the Royal Sacred Sect can't stand the sight of Qin Wentian and me, they can just come and kill us. Lu Ziyan smiled as she watched everything unfold. The Royal Sacred Sect was the king of this world, ruling over an entire region. But now, there seemed to be people rebelling. Not only that, the first person to rebel was actually a demon-level genius with a violet gold astral soul. Sadly, this young man was born in a country bumpkin world. If he was born in the outside world, how could a mere power like the Royal Sacred Sect dare to kill him? It was unknown how many powerful characters would be willing to act for him, destroying the Royal Sacred Sect in an instant. Such a melodramatic scene could only be seen in the world of the natives. Zai Xian stared at Qin Wentian as his eyes flickered with a hint of jealousy. He was the sacred prince, yet in the territory of his Royal Sacred Sect, a country bumpkin actually had a talent that surpassed his. Not only that, he was still bragging earlier and was heard by Lu Ziyan, who was beside him. Now, when he saw the smile on Lu Ziyan's face, he couldn't help but feel that there was no face left on his face. However, if Qin Wentian was born in the outside world, he would have many opportunities. But this place was the world of the Royal Sacred Sect. So what if Qin Wentian's talent was high? Qin Wentian would still be a treasure in the bag. If I had such an astral soul, I would have long been accepted as a personal disciple by some powerful characters. A cold light flickered in the depths of Zai Xian's eyes, yet he didn't reveal it. He stared at Qin Wentian. Your talent is truly extraordinary. My Royal Sacred Sect is the hegemon of this world, but it's not because we don't have the ability to tolerate others. Even now, I'm still willing to give you a chance. As long as you are willing to submit, my Royal Sacred Sect is still willing to nurture you. At this moment, what Zai Xian was thinking in his heart was that as long as Qin Wentian agreed and entered his Royal Sacred Sect, wouldn't Qin Wentian be under his control? At that time, he would use some special methods to make Qin Wentian submit to him. Even if Qin Wentian wanted to, it would be impossible for him to break free. Qin Wentian would forever be his loyal slave. Are you joking? Qin Wentian inclined his head, his demonic eyes stared at Zai Xian in the air as a mocking look flashed in his eyes, causing Zai Xian to furrow his brows. After which, he heard Qin Wentian continuing, I need the Royal Sacred Sect to nurture me. Is your Royal Sacred Sect even worthy? As the sound of his voice faded, the hearts of everyone shuddered, causing Zai Xian's countenance to turn ashen. Although these words were arrogant, there was no way to refute it. The battle earlier was still fresh in his mind. Qin Wentian killed 2 heaven-chosen of the Royal Sacred Sect one after another, and both of them had a higher cultivation base compared to him. Yet Zai Xian said that he wanted the Royal Sacred Sect to nurture Qin Wentian. What a joke. The person you nurtured was killed by someone who jumped levels to kill him, yet you still have the face to say that you would nurture others? This is already the limit of what my royal sacred sect can tolerate. Your hands are stained with the blood of our sect's members. If you continue to be so brazen, we can only kill you. Zai Xian's voice was so cold that it could pierce one's bones. A cold intent gushed forth, gushing towards Qin Wentian. Tolerate? How laughable. If my strength was slightly weaker, would I still be alive and standing here listening to your words? You all want to kill me, yet you don't allow me to resist. Resistance is arrogance. Your logic makes me look at you in a new light. Qin Wentian sarcastically continued, don't forget what I said before I came to the sacred battle platform. The royal sacred sect is openly admitting that you guys are the hegemons of this world. Is there really no one else? I allowed you guys to be 2 levels higher than me, yet there's still no one who dares to fight me. Zai Xian, this brat is truly too arrogant. There's no need to waste words with him, just kill him directly. An old man from the royal sacred sect spoke. If they continued to let Qin Wentian live, it would only tarnish the prestige of the royal sacred sect. They had to kill him no matter what. The royal sacred sect, the hegemon of this world. From today onwards, you will become a joke, a disgrace to the world. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the experts in the air. His objective today had already been achieved. Staring at the ugly expressions on the faces of the experts from the royal sacred sect, Qin Wentian understood that after this battle, the royal sacred sect of the royal sacred region would fall from their divine pedestal. They would no longer be the god that everyone worshipped, the supreme and lofty sacred ground of the martial path. They were tyrannical, domineering, those who submitted to them would prosper, those who defied them would die. They weren't as perfect and powerful as people imagined. Those nurtured by the royal sacred sect could also be defeated. A true demon-level character didn't even need to join the royal sacred sect. Kill. Zai Xian's expression turned sinister. His patience had already reached its limit. This brat insulted the royal sacred sect the moment he opened his mouth. If he didn't kill this brat, where would the prestige of the royal sacred sect be? As the sound of the word kill faded, a terrifying might instantly engulfed the heavens and earth, pressing down onto the sacred battle platform. How tyrannical. A voice drifted over. After which, a silhouette abruptly appeared on the sacred battle platform. It was none other than the medicine sovereign. He stood there, yet there seemed to be a formless energy of the great Tao radiating out for a distance of 1,000 miles. This entire space seemed to be locked down, and the destructive storm of destruction was actually suppressed by an incomparably terrifying energy, unable to descend any further. The medicine sovereign has arrived. Why is he so powerful? The hearts of the spectators trembled. So many major characters from the royal sacred sect had come, and among them, there were even peak-level ascendants. But just by standing there, the medicine sovereign seemed to have calmed down. Exactly how powerful was this ancient existence of the royal sacred region? Qin Wentian is the husband of my personal disciple, Mo Qincheng. In other words, he is equivalent to my son-in-law. The royal sacred sect is too overbearing, sending so many experts to kill Qin Wentian. Don't they have this old man in their eyes? The medicine sovereign glanced at the experts in the air as he coldly spoke. Medicine sovereign, there's no place for you to interfere today. Zai Xian coldly spoke. However, the medicine sovereign swept a glance at him before flicking his sleeves. A crisp sound rang out as Zai Qiu's body was directly flung through the air as blood seeped out from the corners of his mouth. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you speak to this old man in such a manner? The medicine sovereign coldly spoke. Medicine sovereign, why are you interfering in the matters of the juniors? At this moment, a voice abruptly drifted over from the air. After which, a face appeared in the air, causing the hearts of countless to tremble. We pay our respects to the sacred emperor. Some of the upper echelons of the royal sacred sect bowed when they saw this face, respectfully greeting. "We pay our respects to the sacred emperor." The other experts of the royal sacred sect all felt their hearts trembling when they heard the arrival of the sacred emperor. All of them knelt on one knee, welcoming the sacred emperor. At this instant, the hearts of everyone in the sacred royal city couldn't help but shudder. Today, the hegemon of the royal sacred sect, the sacred emperor, had personally arrived on the sacred battle platform. Yet that face of his seemed as though he didn't see it. His gaze was fixed on the medicine sovereign. Matters of the juniors. The entire royal sacred sect dares to bully my son-in-law. Do they even have this old man in their eyes? The medicine sovereign inclined his head and stared at the air with no fear at all. His words caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. The medicine sovereign actually dared to speak to the sacred emperor of the royal sacred sect in this manner. A possibility suddenly appeared in their hearts as their hearts involuntarily pounded violently, causing great waves of shock to rise in their hearts. No matter what, at our level of cultivation, we shouldn't interfere in matters of the juniors. The sacred emperor calmly spoke, as though he wanted to verify the thoughts of everyone. As the sound of his voice faded, the entire space trembled. At our level of cultivation. The medicine sovereign had already reached the same level as the sacred emperor. No wonder Qin Wentian dared to do this. With the medicine sovereign supporting him, what wouldn't he dare to do? Actually at this moment, Qin Wentian's heart was also pounding as he stared at the old man in front of him. So it turned out that the medicine sovereign had already reached that level. Who? Exhaling a turbid breath, Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. He naturally didn't come here today to seek death. In truth, he had always been in contact with those from the Medicine Sovereign Valley, discussing how to deal with this matter. The Medicine Sovereign sent a message to him, telling him to do as he pleased. This was why Qin Wentian would appear on the sacred battle platform and challenge the prestige of the royal sacred sect. He had always been thinking what trump card the Medicine Sovereign was relying on to be so arrogant. Could it be that Uncle Black and the others would act for him again? But in truth, he was wrong. If it wasn't for the date of Qin Wentian's wedding, Uncle Black and the others wouldn't have appeared. Qin Wentian's wedding was simply too important. Uncle Black still had to complete the instructions of Qin Wentian's mother, hence he had no choice but to appear. If not, even now, Qin Wentian wouldn't know that the Medicine Sovereign was acquainted with Uncle Black and the others. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian felt as though he was enlightened. No wonder the Medicine Sovereign dared to go to the royal sacred sect to protect him, speaking on equal terms with the sacred emperor. So it turned out that the Medicine Sovereign had already stepped into that realm. What was laughable was that he only understood it now. The Medicine Sovereign stared at the calm countenance in the air as he spoke. In that case, killing Qin Wentian was indeed approved by you. You are the sacred emperor, yet you want to interfere in the matters of Qin Wentian? Seems like your cultivation of the heart isn't up to par yet. Today, you won't be able to protect him. If you insist on protecting him, I will act. The calm voice of the sacred emperor contained an unquestionable might within. His words caused everyone to be even more shocked. The sacred emperor wanted Qin Wentian to die. Qin Wentian was simply too dazzling. Especially today, he had revealed his violet gold astral soul. Since he was an enemy, the sacred emperor had no choice but to kill him. Chapter 704. The appearance of the sacred emperor caused everyone to sigh. So it turned out that the sacred emperor was not a saint, he was just strong. Qin Wentian threatened the royal sacred sect. Hence, the sacred emperor didn't hesitate to appear, wanting to reap Qin Wentian's life. Today, although the sacred emperor and the royal sacred sect appeared here in a supreme manner, to the experts of the royal sacred region, the royal sacred sect was no longer as sacred as before. The Medicine Sovereign inclined his head, staring at the face in the air as he coldly spoke. Fine, since you are threatening me like this, I won't act. But I'll also say this, if you dare to kill Qin Wentian, I will make sure that all the experts of your royal sacred sect die." The medicine sovereign's long beard fluttered in the wind, his imposing voice causing the hearts of everyone to tremble violently. Just from the conversation between the sacred emperor and the medicine sovereign, this grudge was already formed. The medicine sovereign wanted to protect Qin Wentian, while the sacred emperor wanted to kill him. Since this was the case, the medicine sovereign promised the sacred emperor that he wouldn't act. However, the two of them were not allowed to participate. If the sacred emperor participated, the medicine sovereign would slaughter everyone from the royal sacred sect. Both of them spat out ruthless words, forming a grudge between two supreme experts of the royal sacred region. Not only that, since the medicine sovereign had also broken through to the sacred emperor realm, the position of the royal sacred sect as the hegemon of the royal sacred sect would definitely be shaken. And as expected, in the next instant, the medicine sovereign spoke. "From today onwards, the medicine sovereign valley will start recruiting disciples from the royal sacred region. My medicine sovereign valley might not have many other things, but what we have is heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures. If your talent is high enough, I can let you eat medicinal pills like rice. Other than medicinal pills, I've also accumulated some savings during these years roaming the outside world. My wealth wouldn't lose out to the royal sacred sect by much." As the sound of his voice faded, the entire royal sacred region would tremble. The mysterious medicine sovereign valley, in the past, had never contended for power, they only existed in this world in a transcendent manner. But now, it seemed that the royal sacred sect had forced the medicine sovereign valley to reveal themselves and officially recruit disciples from the outside world. "Today, I shall let them see the power of my medicine sovereign. You want to kill Qin Wentian? Show me what you got." The medicine sovereign faintly spoke. Instantly, a group of experts from the medicine sovereign valley stepped out. With a wave of their hands, terrifying divine weapons appeared one after another. These divine weapons were in different shapes and sizes, there were humans, there were demonic beasts, and all of them were gigantic in size, exuding boundless might. A puppet, a very powerful puppet. Staring at those gigantic beasts, the hearts of the crowd trembled. The medicine sovereign was a genius in the world of alchemy, the #1 alchemist in the royal sacred region. Now that they knew his cultivation base, what level had his pill concoction reached? However, puppets belonged to the category of divine weapons and should have been forged by grandmasters. The medicine sovereign actually collected so many puppets for combat. However, they soon understood. The medicine sovereign's talent was alchemy. In that case, there would be times when he would be coveted by others. It was unavoidable for him to protect himself. Puppets would undoubtedly be able to increase his combat prowess, hence, it was normal for him to collect them. As for the price of collecting powerful puppets, as long as one had alchemy skills, they could directly exchange for them with pills. A truly powerful puppet was a strengthened version of a divine weapon. There were many divine inscriptions and formations inscribed within, allowing them to unleash an overwhelming might. In addition, the requirements for the materials used to forge them were also extremely high. With the toughness of divine weapons, their attack and defense were also extremely strong. Other than being harder to control, they were basically invulnerable in all other aspects. This time around, the experts from the medicine sovereign valley took out over 30 powerful puppets. There were human-shaped puppets and demonic beasts as well. The experts from the medicine sovereign valley directly stepped into the puppets and started controlling them. The sound of metal clashing rang out as the puppets glowed with a luster, causing everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. When they inclined their heads, a sharp aura towered up to the skies. What a powerful aura, these are all puppets at the peak level. The hearts of the crowd trembled. The medicine sovereign soared up into the air, standing together with the gigantic face of the sacred emperor. Kill! How could the experts from the royal sacred sect be afraid? Today, the sacred emperor personally came, and countless experts from the royal sacred sect were here, including many supreme existences at the peak of celestial phenomenon. So what if they were to fight against puppets? Beside Qin Wentian, a supremely gigantic combat puppet appeared. It was an incomparably gigantic golden dragon with a length of 3,000 meters, exuding a terrifying aura. The eyes of this gigantic golden dragon stared up at the skies. After which, its gigantic feet stomped down on the ground, causing the entire sacred battle platform to tremble. Resplendent runic lights flashed, and after that, a terrifying spatial energy gushed forth as the gigantic body of the golden dragon vanished from sight, reappearing in the midst of the experts from the royal sacred sect. The sharp claws of the golden dragon slashed out as a towering spatial tempest instantly manifested, destroying everything within a radius of 100 miles. The destructive might contained within was truly capable of destroying the heavens and earth. Numerous experts of the royal sacred sect had their bodies torn apart as fresh blood splattered through the air. There were even some experts who were directly torn apart by the terrifying spatial tempest. If one didn't have a cultivation base at the peak of celestial phenomenon, they were nothing more than a piece of paper in front of the golden dragon, easily torn apart. How powerful! The spectators from afar all inclined their heads and stared at the golden dragon in the air. This strike seemed to prove the saying, in front of absolute strength, the advantage of numbers was nothing but a joke. Although the golden dragon's attacks were extremely powerful, the person controlling it was unable to unleash its agility. After launching the attack, a series of incomparably resplendent and tyrannical attacks landed on the golden dragon's body. The terrifying sound of friction was ear-piercing, but the golden dragon's body only caved in slightly. It was not destroyed at all. The toughness of this puppet had reached a shocking level. The countenance of the sacred emperor who was in the air was extremely unsightly to behold. He glanced at the medicine sovereign. How could he not understand that these powerful combat puppets originated from the external world? The people of the royal sacred region wouldn't be able to create such powerful combat puppets. Boom, boom, boom. The earth started to tremble as cracks appeared on the sacred battle platform. Numerous fearsome combat puppets soared up into the air, unleashing powerful attacks. One of the human-shaped puppets blasted out with its palms as a golden millstone appeared in its hands. This millstone shimmered with destructive runic light, transforming into a golden tempest that could annihilate everything. Everywhere the tempest passed by, everything was reduced to dust. There was also a demonic rock puppet. Its wings were golden in color, and as it slashed out with its wings, a tempest capable of lacerating the void gushed forth with unfathomable speed. For those who were struck by its wings, their bodies were directly cleaved into two. There were no exceptions. For those who were further away, even if they were struck by the aftershocks, their bodies would still be lacerated. Each and every one of these combat puppets were inscribed with divine inscriptions that were infused with true intents. Not only that, they were extremely powerful to a shocking extent. In the short instant that the battle erupted, over 100 experts from the royal sacred sect had already fallen. Their fresh blood dripped onto the sacred battle platform, dyeing this entire battlefield red with the blood of the hegemons of the royal sacred sect. The spectators from afar all felt a sense of disbelief when they saw the combat puppets wreaking havoc. As for Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan, they had long since borrowed treasures to flee the battlefield. Zai Xian's countenance turned ashen as he stared at the battlefield. How can this be? Such combat puppets are extremely rare even in the external world. Unless one uses 6th-ranked immortal pills to exchange for them, 5th-ranked pills are simply insufficient. The medicine sovereign can already concoct immortal pills. Zai Xian's countenance was extremely ugly to behold. There was still a scar on his face left behind by the medicine sovereign. If the medicine sovereign already had the ability to concoct immortal pills, even in the external world, he would definitely have many immortal-ranked friends. If that's the case, the threat he posed would be too great. Even the sacred emperor wouldn't be able to suppress him. If one wants to create such combat puppets, not only does one need an extremely high level of weaponsmithing ability, they also need to be proficient in the fusion of true intents. With so many combat puppets, it's clear that it's impossible for a single person to create them. The Medicine Sovereign found so many powerful weaponsmiths to create these combat puppets for him. Could it be that he has long since planned to seize the position of the Region Lord? Lu Ziyan stared at Zai Xian. She could only think of this possibility. The position of the Region Lord was indeed very tempting. But if this person was really like what Zai Xian said and could concoct immortal pills, there was no longer a need for him to become the Region Lord. Alchemists who could concoct immortal pills would never lack resources. He himself was a treasure trove, and if he joined a major power, they would naturally be willing to support him and provide him with the best resources, allowing him to continue improving his alchemy path. Kill Qin Wentian. The experts of the Royal Sacred Sect all fell into a state of panic. A bone-chilling voice rang out as a dazzling beam of cold light flashed on the sacred battle platform. A gigantic palm imprint covered the entire space as it smashed towards Qin Wentian. In front of and behind Qin Wentian, there were two combat puppets protecting him. At this moment, one of the gigantic Xuanwu puppet directly shielded Qin Wentian. The other puppet, the Devil Ape, roared in rage as boundless sound waves blasted out, causing the body of the expert rushing towards Qin Wentian to tremble. After which, the Devil Ape blasted out a tyrannical fist light that penetrated through the skies. Die! That expert had a solemn expression on his face. Astral light illuminated the skies as he borrowed the power of his constellation, transforming into a gigantic palm imprint that blasted downwards. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out, the entire space was on the verge of exploding. A gigantic golden dragon descended from the skies as its gigantic palm imprint slammed towards that expert. At the same time, a great rock puppet appeared, its wings blotting out the sun as it swept downwards. That expert was surrounded by the three puppets as his countenance instantly paled. Both his palms blasted out in the air as the gigantic palm imprint blasted out in all directions. However, the combined attacks of those supreme combat puppets were extremely terrifying. Their attacks penetrated through everything, directly aiming for that expert, causing despair to appear in his heart. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out as the body of that expert was shattered into pieces. Qin Wentian stood below the gigantic Xuanwu puppet as he stared at the skies. That aura earlier was so powerful. Characters at the peak of celestial phenomenon weren't just a little bit stronger compared to those at the peak of the third level of celestial phenomenon. The Medicine Sovereign, how extravagant. Staring at the tyrannical combat puppets in the air, Qin Wentian felt shock in his heart. Seems like the Medicine Sovereign had long made preparations for this battle. Chapter 705. The actions of the Medicine Sovereign today had already surpassed the imaginations of everyone. In the legends, his cultivation base was on the same level as the Sacred Emperor of the Royal Sacred Sect. That powerful puppet, for the sake of protecting Qin Wentian, directly waged war against the Royal Sacred Sect. After the Royal Sacred Sect unified the world, this was the first time that their position as the hegemon of the Royal Sacred Region was seriously challenged and threatened. Maybe from now onwards, the Royal Sacred Region would no longer belong to the Royal Sacred Sect. In the crowd far away, even the Star River Lord of the Star River Association had personally arrived. The Star River Association liked to do things in the dark. As long as they could achieve their goal, they wouldn't care about the details. When Qin Wentian arrived in the Sacred Royal City and the Royal Sacred Sect wanted to kill him, the Star River Association only needed to watch from the sidelines. They didn't even need to interfere. After the Royal Sacred Sect killed Qin Wentian, the Star River Association would directly point their weapons at Grand Xia, destroying it and allowing the Star River Association to rise again. However, he didn't expect that the Medicine Sovereign had actually hidden his strength so deeply, reaching the legendary realm. Also, from the way the medicine sovereign protected Qin Wentian, it was clear that anyone who wanted to kill Qin Wentian would have to go through the medicine sovereign first. Not easy. The Star River Lord silently mused. However, the strength the Royal Sacred Sect had mobilized was only the tip of the iceberg. The Royal Sacred Sect had governed the world for countless years. Other than the core faction, there were also the other factions supporting them. The number of experts they had was over 10 million, and the number of people who appeared here today was only a small portion of them. They didn't expect that they would encounter such powerful obstructions when they wanted to kill a single Qin Wentian. In the air, Lu Zian stared at the situation of the battle. The puppets had an absolute advantage and she couldn't help but to mock. A country bumpkin world is a country bumpkin world after all. Although the cultivation bases of these celestial phenomenon ascendants are very high, their combat prowess isn't something these puppets can contend against. Sadly, your Royal Sacred Sect doesn't even have a single one of such characters. Zai Xian's countenance changed, he didn't say a word as he stared at the battle. In the air, the medicine sovereign stared at the gigantic face of the Sacred Emperor as he spoke. Sacred Emperor, you can be considered my junior, right? In the past, I've never had any thoughts of contending for the hegemony of the Royal Sacred Sect, yet you are so overbearing. Why must you do this? The gigantic face of the Sacred Emperor was as calm as ever, as though nothing in the world would be able to affect his state of heart. His eyes glanced at the medicine sovereign as he spoke. Where did you get these puppets from? There's no need for you to know. The medicine sovereign clasped his hands behind his back as he faintly replied. The Sacred Emperor turned his gaze over, only to see many silhouettes flying over. He then spoke, I'm afraid these puppets aren't enough. These silhouettes flew over in a grandiose manner, rushing towards the sacred battle platform. In an instant, the spectators from afar all retreated as they felt great terror in their hearts. These experts were like a terrifying army, each and every one of them was so powerful that it would cause the hearts of the spectators to tremble. This was the strongest force the core faction could muster. All of them moved out, disregarding all costs to kill Qin Wentian. Or maybe, right now, it wasn't as simple as killing Qin Wentian. This concerned the position of the Royal Sacred Sect's hegemony. If they were to lose this battle, how would the people of the Royal Sacred Region view them? If the Royal Sacred Sect was defeated in the hands of the medicine sovereign, would the hegemony of the Royal Sacred Region change hands? A gigantic sword was abruptly pulled out from the hands of an expert as a brilliant light illuminated the skies. Another expert took out a blood-colored great axe as his constellation gushed forth, causing the sky to change color. The silhouettes of these experts flickered at the same time, forming a formation. The 7 of them moved as one, surrounding the puppets, 7 against 1. In one of the battlefields, 7 experts were currently surrounding the golden dragon puppet. Their constellations were incomparably resplendent, seemingly boundless in number. In addition, the constellations stacked on top of each other as boundless destructive might ravage the surroundings. The 7 of them stood in different locations as astral light flowed around them. It was as though they were able to share the constellations stacked on top of each other. That golden dragon puppet roared in rage as a resplendent spatial tear energy gushed forth, tearing through space in the direction of one of the experts. However, that expert abruptly transformed into a beam of light as the 7 of them moved together, forming a terrifying heavenly rampart. The sharp claws of the golden dragon directly slammed into the astral rampart, causing it to tremble violently as cracks appeared on it. However, it didn't shatter, and the frenzied flow of astral light instantly repaired the cracks. Bzzz. In the void, a terrifying blood-colored axe chopped down from the sky. It seemed to contain a terrifying power of destruction. The void around the blood-colored axe seemed to be on the verge of being torn apart. There was only a blood-colored light left there, cutting a line in the sky as it chopped down. Boom! The destructive attack shook the golden dragon's body, causing it to tremble violently. It fell from the sky and slammed into the starry sky wall. How about now? Zai Xian involuntarily asked Lu Ziyan as he stared at the battle over there. 7 of them as one, and one of them has the ability to control the constellations, combining the strength of the 7 of them into one, unleashing the might of the formation. In addition, all 7 of them are at the celestial phenomenon realm, so their strategy isn't bad. However, this doesn't mean anything. They are still too weak, that's why they have to resort to such a strategy. Lu Ziyan slowly spoke. Her gaze then turned to Qin Wentian. Seems like this country bumpkin of the royal sacred sect wanted to kill this young man no matter what. It would truly be a pity if such a character died in this country bumpkin world. The battle grew more and more intense, those powerful puppets were all surrounded by the 7 experts. The spectators were speechless when they saw this. Most probably, all the experts of the royal sacred sect had been mobilized. This was too terrifying. The royal sacred sect, if they didn't win this battle, they wouldn't rest. It's truly a pity that these puppets are destroyed. The sacred emperor in the air emotionlessly spoke. There was no hint of pity in his eyes, it was as though he was waiting for the destruction of these puppets. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the air, the trapped puppets were unceasingly suffering from intense attacks. Many of those from the royal sacred sect who had a lower cultivation base were now idle. They once again turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian as killing intent flashed in their eyes. Kill him. A cold voice rang out, only to see several experts rushing towards Qin Wentian from different directions. The black tortoise was still protecting Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stared at those experts in the air as a cold light flashed in his eyes. But at this moment, the black tortoise stretched out a gigantic claw, grabbing hold of Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to be speechless. Just a single claw of the black tortoise was able to easily envelop him, causing him to be unable to see the situation outside. He could only hear the sounds of the attacks. Boom, boom, boom. In the external world, numerous terrifying attacks slammed into the body of the black tortoise. The power of the attacks shook the heavens, and the sound of the impact was ear-piercing. However, the black tortoise didn't seem to be affected at all. There wasn't even a scratch on the shell on its back. The gigantic Xuanwu tortoise raised its head as an attack spear pierced through its eyeball with immense destructive force. However, the gigantic eyes of the Xuanwu tortoise were still staring at the sky as it spat out a mouthful of cold air. This cold air instantly enveloped the body of the Xuanwu tortoise, causing the powerful figure wielding the spear to be directly transformed into an ice statue, not moving at all. An extremely cold aura swept through the air. A snake-like tail swept out, and a crisp sound rang out. The ice sculpture was directly shattered into pieces, including the body of the expert. This is... The Saint Emperor who was in the air narrowed his eyes as he stared fixedly at the black tortoise. The black tortoise moved. Rumbling sounds rang out as its gigantic body soared up into the air. After which, it opened its mouth and spat out another mouthful of cold air, instantly vaporizing the surrounding space, including the 7 experts and the black tortoise puppet. In an instant, that space directly turned into an ice sculpture. All the attacking forces seemed to have stopped, turning into a snow-white world of ice. The gigantic tail swept out once more, cleaving down from the middle. A destructive might radiated from the tail, radiating outwards. Under the shocked gazes of everyone, the bodies of those experts directly disintegrated, only the black tortoise puppet remained unscathed. In that instant, over 10 powerful existences directly fell. Frigid nether immortal Qi, you. The countenance of the sacred emperor in the air finally changed. He stared at the medicine sovereign and commanded, retreat. As the command was issued, the entire space trembled. The countenances of those from the royal sacred sect all turned ashen. Their eyes turned red as they stared at the black tortoise puppet. It was like a puppet of slaughter, there was basically no one who could contend against it. Retreat. The experts of the royal sacred sect began to retreat. The strength of an entire army retreated, and all of them were celestial phenomenon ascendants. This caused the hearts of the spectators to pound wildly. Was this the strength of the royal sacred sect? As the hegemon of the royal sacred region, they indeed had the strength to suppress an entire region. But today, they were actually defeated by the puppets of the medicine sovereign. This was especially so for the black tortoise puppet. A brazen thought appeared in the hearts of many. Could this be considered an immortal ranked puppet? Facing such overwhelming strength, even peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants couldn't even withstand a single strike. The experts in the air departed in an imposing manner, all of them were from the royal sacred sect. The strongest army of the royal sacred region was defeated today. The impact of this matter on the royal sacred region would surely be extremely heavy. From now onwards, the royal sacred sect would no longer be the sole hegemon of the royal sacred region. First, Qin Wentian defeated all the third-level ascendants of the royal sacred sect. After that, the medicine sovereign used his puppets to defeat the army of the royal sacred sect. The royal sacred sect had truly fallen from their divine pedestal. Chapter 706. In the air, the gigantic face of the sacred emperor was still there. His eyes stared at the medicine sovereign, he could no longer maintain his transcendent calmness as a cold light flickered in his eyes. How about now? The medicine sovereign laughed as he stared at the sacred emperor. His eyes narrowed into slits, as though he was mocking the sacred emperor. Medicine sovereign, you have truly concealed yourself deeply. The countenance of the sacred emperor turned cold. However, do you think this is sufficient? My royal sacred sect has governed the royal sacred region for tens of thousands of years. Generations of sacred emperors have left this world, and there are also many who joined the major powers outside. The spectators below inclined their heads, this was the first time they heard the sacred emperor speak. Not only that, he was talking about the outside world. The royal sacred region was merely a world. The royal sacred sect didn't only have a single sacred emperor, there were generations of sacred emperors. What is the outside world like? Many had looks of yearning on their faces. There were already so many experts in the royal sacred region, let alone the vast world outside. Generations of sacred emperors? How great can their accomplishments be? The powers they join are merely ordinary. The medicine sovereign coldly laughed. Today's matter was originally caused by your royal sacred sect being overbearing, disregarding everything and everyone, treating the lives of others like grass. Since this is the case, my medicine sovereign valley can only stand out. From today onwards, not only will my medicine sovereign valley recruit members, we will also relocate our headquarters to the sacred royal city. Fine. Medicine sovereign, you're on your own now. The sacred emperor coldly spoke. After which, the wind and clouds changed as the gigantic face gradually vanished, as though it had never appeared before. At this moment, the sacred emperor and the experts of the royal sacred sect all left the sacred battle platform. This was once a sacred ground controlled by the royal sacred sect, but now, it was controlled by the medicine sovereign and the others. Numerous puppets of the sacred royal sacred sect shimmered with a cold light, exuding a sinister coldness. Qin Wentian stood on the body of the Xuanwu puppet. Before this, he had already seen everything that happened through the gaps between the Xuanwu's palms. His heart was filled with shock. This Xuanwu puppet that protected him was actually able to breathe out immortal qi. Most probably, this was an ability that an expert on a different level should have. No matter how strong a celestial phenomenon ascendant was, they wouldn't be able to survive in the face of such coldness. Let's go. The medicine sovereign lowered his head and stared at Qin Wentian with a smile on his face. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. The people from the medicine sovereign valley brought their puppets and left the sacred battle platform. Only the spectators in the surroundings were unable to calm their hearts even after a long time. The news of the war between the Medicine Sovereign Valley and the Royal Sacred Sect instantly circulated throughout the entire Royal Sacred region, causing a huge wave of commotion. Following which, the Medicine Sovereign Valley actually purchased a huge plot of land in the eastern direction of the sacred royal city, spanning over 1,000 miles. The Medicine Sovereign Valley officially moved to the sacred royal city, and at the same time, they started to rebuild that vast piece of land. The construction speed of stellar martial cultivators was exceedingly fast. For example, for an expert who could control the energy of Earth, he could easily control the transformation of the Earth, causing numerous sturdy palaces to be directly uprooted from the ground. For those who could control the energy of water, they could easily create rivers and lakes. For those who could control the energy of rocks, they could easily construct artificial mountains and peaks. For those who could control the energy of metal, they could easily reinforce their structures. For those who could control the energy of plants and vegetation, they could easily transform a vast piece of land into a lush greenery. Although the Medicine Sovereign Valley was a hidden power and had always been mysterious, although they didn't have as many experts as the Royal Sacred Sect, their strength wasn't weak at all. There were many experts who could control different types of energy. Under such a situation where all of them were mobilized, in just a short span of 3 days, a majestic palace was erected in the fertile land. There were even many medicinal gardens within the palace that emitted a dense medicinal fragrance. These were all transplanted here by the people from the Medicine Sovereign Valley. In this continuous chain of palaces, Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing were both staying. This was a place surrounded by mountains. Qin Wentian stared at the scenery as he silently sighed in admiration in his heart. What uncanny workmanship, to think that the construction is so similar to the Medicine Sovereign Valley. Qin Wentian laughed. Mo Qingqing nodded her head. Master originally gave the order to construct the palaces according to the Medicine Sovereign Valley's design. Naturally, it has to be exactly the same. It's just that now the Medicine Sovereign Valley has relocated to the sacred royal city, it's like they're living in seclusion. While the outside world is bustling with activity, the Medicine Sovereign Valley is still like a secluded place. Qin Wentian nodded. Back then, the Royal Sacred Sect was defeated. Maybe they won't let the matter rest so easily. Master moved the Medicine Sovereign Valley here, provoking the Royal Sacred Sect in such a manner. Most probably, even in their dreams, the Royal Sacred Sect would want to destroy the Medicine Sovereign Valley. I wonder what Master's intentions are exactly. Mo Qingqing's countenance was filled with bewilderment. Her master was actually an Immortal Foundation expert from the legends. She was getting more and more unfathomable. Also, recently, there's a rumor circulating around the sacred royal city. It said that there's a possibility that a supreme existence from a world outside the royal sacred region would descend here to recruit a disciple. This matter caused a huge commotion. I wonder if it's true or false. Mo Qingqing continued. How strong would a supreme existence be? Qin Wentian asked in a low voice. What level were the cultivation bases of the Sacred Emperor and the Medicine Sovereign at exactly? Master has also mentioned this before. He said that if this rumor is true, you should do your best. If you can become the disciple of such a supreme existence, even the Royal Sacred Sect would respectfully visit the Medicine Sovereign Valley to beg for forgiveness. Even the Sacred Emperor would have to lower his head. That supreme existence in the legends can slay existences like the Sacred Emperor with just a single breath. An expression of interest appeared on Mo Qingqing's face. She then continued, Wentian, how good would it be if you could become the disciple of such a supreme existence? At that time, tell those experts from the Royal Sacred Sect to come to my Medicine Sovereign Valley to beg for forgiveness. How can it be so easy? In any case, this is only a rumor, we still don't know if it's true or false. Qin Wentian stared at the mischievous expression on Mo Qingqing's face as he pinched her cheeks. Since there's a rumor circulating around the royal sacred region, there's a high possibility that it's true. Mo Qingqing spoke. Even so, I still have to raise my strength as much as possible. Only then would I have a higher chance of becoming a disciple of a supreme existence. Qin Wentian held on to Mo Qingqing's hand as they stepped out. In an instant, the two of them arrived at a cave dwelling in the mountain range. Qin Wentian sat cross-legged while Qin Wentian sat on the other side. She stared at the back view of Qin Wentian as a gentle smile appeared on her face. She didn't disturb Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's world was filled with resplendent astral light. It was as though he was situated in a boundless starry sky, surrounded by countless constellations. Strands of terrifying energy circulated around him, containing an intense destructive might. With an intention of his will, Qin Wentian disintegrated the fearsome destructive particles, transforming them into strands of true intent. Dream, force, demon, sword. At the same time, a brand new energy permeated the air. This energy had an intense luster to it, exuding a suppressive aura. It was as though it could transform into a gigantic ancient character, suppress. Qin Wentian waved his hands as the ancient character floated in the air. The suppressive might gushed forth in all directions as a golden light flashed. It felt as though even space itself was about to be suppressed. After stepping into celestial phenomenon, I've already comprehended 4 types of true intents. It seems that it's much easier to comprehend them now. Qin Wentian mumbled. No wonder there were some people who pursued a single type of energy, wanting to step into celestial phenomenon first. After they stepped into celestial phenomenon, the difficulty of comprehending other types of true intents would be much lower. However, there were flaws in doing so. Unlike Qin Wentian, who had already comprehended 4 types of true intents and fused them together to form a celestial phenomenon constellation, his foundation was incomparably sturdy. For such a person, it would be much easier to comprehend the true intents contained within his astral souls. Hence, it didn't take long for him to comprehend the true intent of suppress. Suppress everything, there was nothing he couldn't suppress. The 5 types of true intents floated in the starry space, revolving around each other. Qin Wentian was quietly comprehending, as though he wanted to search for a brand new type of energy. In terms of suppressive might, force and sword, these 2 true intents both possessed the ability to suppress. Hence, they should be able to fuse together better, transforming into a powerful attack. Qin Wentian quietly comprehended, attempting to fuse his true intents together, transforming them into a brand new type of energy. Because he already had the experience of fusing true intents, it wasn't difficult for Qin Wentian to fuse true intents together. However, it seemed that it would be extremely difficult for him to surpass his previous limits. At most, the power of his attack would be slightly stronger compared to the illusory demon force, but it couldn't be compared to the power of his dreamworld constellation. Not only that, to Qin Wentian, the constellation he wanted to condense shouldn't be a simple fusion. He wanted to use his astral souls as the foundation, transforming them into a brand new type of energy. Time slowly flowed by, Qin Wentian was immersed in his own comprehension. Occasionally, he would frown, and occasionally, a look of enlightenment could be seen on his face. However, from the start till the end, he had never opened his eyes, as he was fully immersed in his comprehension. Mo Qingqing sat far away, observing the changes in Qin Wentian's countenance. She propped her chin up with both her hands, as a mischievous and adorable expression appeared on her face. She quietly stared at Qin Wentian, as an expression of satisfaction could be seen on her face. In the external world, the storm had yet to subside. The aftermath of the battle between the royal sacred sect and the medicine sovereign valley was still present. Many people were fervently discussing this matter, and at the same time, there was another rumor circulating around the royal sacred region. It was very likely that a supreme existence from the external worlds would come to the royal sacred region to recruit a disciple. On this day, in one of the restaurants in Saint Emperor City, there were many people drinking and chatting. One of them raised his cup and was about to drink, but at this moment, his hand froze in mid-air as a look of shock flashed in his eyes, as he stared motionlessly at the sky above. "Brother Yu, "What's wrong?" someone asked. Seeing that the person who spoke didn't reply, they inclined their heads and stared at the sky only to see a few silhouettes descending from the heavens, descending unceasingly. In fact, one of them was riding on a golden jiao, exuding an incomparably imposing aura as he wielded a golden long spear in his hands. Experts from the external worlds. A person mumbled. As the sound of his voice faded, the crowd inclined their heads as all of them were dumbfounded. They stared at the sky in shock, only to see more and more experts descending from the heavens. Many of them landed in different locations, and all of them exuded an extraordinary aura. Experts from the external worlds descending, these must be experts from the external worlds. Could it be that the rumor is true? The hearts of the crowd pounded. Chapter 707. The people in the inn were in an uproar. The people in the surrounding few hundred miles all inclined their heads and stared at the silhouettes descending from the air as the shock in their hearts grew to the extreme. Could it be that the passageway to the outer realms has been opened, and the experts from the outer realms can freely descend into the royal sacred region? This place is the royal sacred region. In the air, the expert riding on the golden jiao stared at the people in the inn. His eyes were golden in color and contained an incomparably powerful penetrative ability. It was as though a single glance from him could pierce through people. The aura radiating from him was terrifying to the extreme. That's right. A person lifted his wine cup as he replied in a trembling voice. The young man riding on the golden jiao exuded an imposing aura. He swept his gaze over to the experts in the inn before his golden eyes turned to the horizons, as though he wanted to see through the cultivation bases of the people in this region. An instant later, he frowned as he asked in a cold tone, why would the Eastern Sage Great Emperor want to accept a disciple from such a weak little world? What's the reason for this? The 9 heavens continent had a myriad of heavenly domains. The myriad heavenly domains referred to the 33 heavenly realms, but the myriad of domains didn't refer to the 10,000 domains. Rather, it was a boundless number of inner domains. These inner domains were innumerable, but to the people of the various heavenly realms, they were merely Sumer worlds. A world domain was merely a grain of sand. Among these countless inner domains, there were strong and weak ones. They were the native worlds in the eyes of the people of the various heavenly realms. The worlds of the various heavenly realms were also known as the Immortal realms. The 33 heavenly realms were also known as the 33 Immortal realms. Around any Immortal realms, there would be countless inner domains of Sumer worlds. Only after they grew to a certain extent would they have the qualifications to walk out of the Immortal realms and enter the Immortal realms to cultivate, coming into contact with a higher level. To any of the 33 Immortal realms, the inner domains were like grains of sand, too small, too small. After the news that the Eastern Sage Great Emperor wanted to accept a disciple from the royal sacred region, many people started searching for it. It wasn't easy to find a native world. There were simply too many particle worlds around the Immortal realms. How difficult would it be if you wanted to find one out of all of them? After searching for a very long time, they finally found the royal sacred region with great difficulty. They asked their elders to break the restraints of the domain and stepped into the native world known as the royal sacred region. What sort of character was the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor? He was someone who resided in the Eastern Sage Immortal Palace, a supreme existence that could cause the heavens and earth to tremble with a stomp of his feet. A single word from him was sufficient to destroy countless worlds, and a single stomp of his foot could trample millions of royal sacred region experts to death, annihilating countless lives. Such an existence actually came to a country bumpkin world to recruit disciples. How could they not be shocked? To a supreme existence like the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, talent was nothing but fleeting clouds. There were countless geniuses in the Immortal realms, but how many of them could become an existence like the Eastern Sage Great Emperor? The Eastern Sage Great Emperor didn't even need to care about any geniuses. If the Eastern Sage Great Emperor wanted to accept disciples, he would only accept them if he was in a good mood. He would only accept those whom he found pleasing to his eyes. That would already be considered a heavenly fortune for that person. No matter how much of a genius one was, they wouldn't be as pleasing to the eye as the Eastern sage great emperor. But then again, if one wanted to make the Eastern sage great emperor feel pleasing to the eye, they had to first display their supreme talent. This was the foundation. They came here to try their luck and see if they could make the Eastern sage great emperor feel pleasing to the eye. Maybe, the Eastern sage great emperor might not even personally appear for this disciple recruitment. Eastern sage great emperor. The hearts of the people in the inn trembled when they heard the words of the young man. Was the Eastern sage great emperor the supreme existence rumored to be coming to the royal sacred region to recruit disciples? Bzz, bzz. The sound of wind whistling could be heard from afar. The person in the lead was actually none other than Zai Xian. Other than Zai Xian, there were many experts from the royal sacred sect here as well. I'm Zai Xian, a disciple of the royal sacred sect, a hegemon of the royal sacred region. It's an honor for all of you to descend upon my royal sacred region, and I specially came here to invite all of you to be my guests. Zai Xian exuded an air of elegance as he spoke to the crowd. The eyes of some flickered. They just arrived in the royal sacred region and weren't familiar with it. Since the ruler of this country bumpkin world invited them, they might as well pay a visit and understand this place better. Right. We'll have to trouble you then. Many people nodded their heads, but their gazes were filled with impoliteness when they stared at Zai Xian. For experts from the immortal realms, they naturally wouldn't place the ruler of a country bumpkin in their eyes. Let alone the fact that Zai Xian's strength was only so, he wasn't worthy of their attention. Are there any beauties for me to enjoy? A young man with a devilish look in his eyes stared at Zai Xian as evil intent flashed in his eyes. The evil chi radiating from him was extremely terrifying. It was clear with a single glance that he wasn't a good person. Naturally. Zai Xian was stunned for a moment before he smiled. The beauties of a country bumpkin world should taste pretty good, right? That evil-looking young man happily spoke. His eyes gleamed with a demonic light, causing many to have looks of disgust on their faces when they stared at him. At this level of cultivation, one wouldn't be easily moved by beauties. Their lust would weaken and they would be able to better restrain themselves. Clearly, this person had cultivated an evil art, causing his lust to be so intense. This man didn't dare to act recklessly in the immortal realms. Now that he's in a country bumpkin world, I'm afraid there would be many beauties who would suffer a calamity. The ruler of this country bumpkin world actually cooperated with him. Seems like he doesn't have any principles at all. Some people mused silently in their hearts. But since this matter had nothing to do with them, they couldn't be bothered to care about it. Since they walked different paths, they wouldn't be able to make plans together. That young man riding on the golden Jiao glanced at the evil-looking young man as he coldly laughed in his heart. To the immortal realms, the inner world was like a drop in the ocean, extremely secretive and hard to find. It was a good place to do many things. No wonder there were often rumors of people fleeing to a remote and desolate world after they offended an extremely powerful enemy. Although such an enemy was powerful, it was still extremely difficult to find them. I wonder if there are any miraculous places in this inner world. The golden Jiao roared in rage as it sped away, vanishing from this place in the blink of an eye. In the airspace above the Medicine Sovereign Valley, the Medicine Sovereign and many others stood in the air. Even Uncle Black was here, as well as the person who saved Qin Wentian and Imo Qingqing back then in the Pill Emperor Hall. The royal sacred region has been opened. To think that there would be supreme existences who came here to accept disciples. Seems like in the future, the royal sacred region would be the center of attention. In fact, there might even be some supreme experts from the immortal realms. An expert who once appeared in the Pill Emperor Hall spoke as he frowned. We have to leave now. Uncle Black coldly spoke. Everyone fell silent when they heard his words. They then turned their gazes towards the direction of the Medicine Sovereign Valley as they sighed in their hearts. But, we still feel somewhat reluctant to leave the young master here alone. Someone sighed. Even if we are reluctant, we still have to leave. We have already been exposed once. For an expert like the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, a single sweep of his will would be able to envelop the entire royal sacred region. Nobody would be able to escape his eyes. In addition, the Eastern Sage Great Emperor is accepting disciples here. The royal sacred region would surely attract the attention of other supreme existences. We have to leave. Uncle Black's calm voice contained a hint of resolution. The others nodded their heads. They also understood the capabilities of immortal emperors. Immortal emperors of the immortal realms could observe an entire region with a single thought. They didn't want any possibility of their young master being exposed, as it would affect his future. AI, Medicine Sovereign, we will leave the young master to you. One of them instructed the Medicine Sovereign. Don't worry, after living for so many years, I've long lived enough. Over 20 years ago, I was already at the limit of my lifespan. It was you guys who extended my lifespan and even jumped out of the river of life, ascending to immortality with a single step. There's no way for me to repay this debt of gratitude. Also, after breaking through to the Immortal Foundation realm, this old man's life belongs to all of you. Although I don't know who you guys are, but since you guys treated Qin Wentian like this, I believe he must have a heaven-defying mission on his shoulders. As long as I still have a single breath left in me, I naturally won't allow him to die. The Medicine Sovereign sincerely spoke. He had never asked about Qin Wentian's identity before. That shouldn't be a level he could come into contact with. It was best to repay the debt of gratitude of the past. In addition, he might be able to witness the growth of a heaven-defying character. This itself was something to be proud of. What we have done for him has already exceeded the expectations of Master and Madam. As the young Master, he naturally has a mission on his shoulders. We should believe that he will be able to rise up step by step. Only those who rely on their own efforts to reach the peak are the hardest to be knocked down. This was the warning of Master back then. You guys don't have to be so stubborn anymore. Let's go. Uncle Black's tone was as cold and strict as ever, just like how he lectured Qin Wentian back then. Fine, fine, we will listen to you. Everyone glanced at Uncle Black. If he was really so heartless, how could he have become a cripple? They would never be able to forget what happened back then. Casting a deep glance at the place where Qin Wentian was cultivating, they drew in a deep breath and were speechless. Medicine Sovereign, tell the young master that Qin, that lass is a good girl. The young master has always been paying attention to him in the dark. That lass has an extremely powerful sealing mark in her body and her identity is extraordinary. In fact, I'm guessing that the arrival of the Eastern Sage Immortal Realms this time around has something to do with her. Uncle Black seemed to be worried about something as he spoke to the Medicine Sovereign. A strange expression appeared on the Medicine Sovereign's face as he glanced at Imo Qingcheng, who was not far away from Qin Wentian. You still have to tell him what he needs to know. As for how to choose, it will be up to him. No one can make the decision for him, only himself. This is the case for the martial path, this is also the case for relationships. Uncle Black spoke as the group of them soared into the air. The Medicine Sovereign nodded, he also knew of the existence of Qing. Not only that, this woman was the same as his disciple Mo Qingcheng, both of them were infatuated with love. Uncle Black and the others left just like that, leaving the royal sacred region. However, Qin Wentian had no idea of this. He was still silently cultivating, attempting to condense his second constellation. However, the condensation of a constellation depended on one's comprehension. Before one comprehended it, it was useless no matter how much time one spent. Once one comprehended it, it would only take an instant. Right now, Qin Wentian had already comprehended many different types of energy that weren't easy to fuse together. However, none of them could surpass the Dreamworld constellation. If this was the case, it was useless even if he wanted it. He might as well not comprehend it at all. Chapter 708. Uncle Black and the others quietly departed. Only the medicine sovereign knew that they didn't disturb Qin Wentian. Since a supreme existence like the Eastern Sage Great Emperor was paying attention to the royal sacred region, he would be able to see everything there with just a sweep of his will. In addition, the Eastern Sage Great Emperor came down to the royal sacred region to accept a disciple. This meant that the royal sacred region would be exposed to the eyes of the entire immortal realms. At that time, the Eastern Sage Great Emperor wouldn't be the only one paying attention to the royal sacred region. Maybe the Eastern Sage Great Emperor himself wouldn't pay too much attention to the royal sacred region, but the others would. Because every action of the Eastern Sage Great Emperor would attract countless gazes, let alone something as grand as accepting a disciple. Hence, Uncle Black and the others could only leave. The rumors became reality. The royal sacred city and the entire royal sacred region were in an uproar. News of a supreme existence from the immortal realms outside the royal sacred region came here to accept a disciple. This supreme existence was known as the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, and it was unknown how terrifying he was. The Sacred Emperor, the hegemon of the royal sacred region, if placed in front of the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, was like the difference between a mortal and a sacred emperor. For an existence like the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, killing a sacred emperor would be as easy as stepping on an ant. Nobody knew how strong the Eastern Sage Great Emperor was, hence they could only use this to describe his strength. In any case, as long as there was a chance to become the disciple of the Eastern Sage Great Emperor, even if he was an ordinary mortal, his status would instantly skyrocket. Even the sacred emperors of the royal sacred region would have to be respectful to him. How could such a rumor not cause the entire royal sacred region to be in an uproar? In fact, even the war between the Medicine Sovereign Valley and the royal sacred sect was temporarily forgotten. Right now, the Eastern Sage Great Emperor accepting a disciple was the most important matter in the royal sacred region. It was just that right now, nobody knew how the Eastern Sage Great Emperor wanted to accept a disciple. However, the royal sacred region was still filled with experts from the outside worlds. All of them were extremely powerful, but as for how strong they were, nobody knew. Many people guessed that there would definitely be experts stronger than the sacred emperor in the royal sacred region. It was just that they were all hidden in the crowd and didn't reveal their strength. Saint Royal City was still the most bustling and prosperous place in the royal sanctuary. Most of the foreign visitors gathered in Saint Royal City, which often caused quite a stir. Not only that, there were some outsiders who were extremely arrogant and despotic, as though they were unexcelled in the world. They basically looked down on the local experts of the royal sacred sect and referred to them as country bumpkins, causing many to be enraged. However, many of them didn't dare to say anything. Once, a conflict occurred in a tea house and there was someone who acted out of anger because he was mocked as a country bumpkin. Not only that, he was a genius from an aristocrat clan and was instantly killed along with a few of his brothers. The people in the tea house all kept quiet out of fear, not daring to say anything. Even that aristocrat clan didn't dare to seek revenge. These outsiders had no idea how strong they were and their combat prowess was too high. Even their background was unknown. It was best for them to not cause trouble. Some of the outsiders also grew more and more arrogant. Many of them were lowly existences in the immortal realms and didn't dare to offend anyone. But it was different in a country bumpkin's world. They had a transcendent feeling that these country bumpkins were like ants to them. They could control their fates and these ant-like bumpkins didn't even dare to resist. If one had to use a word to describe it, it would be a sense of superiority. The vast majority of people from the immortal realms were the same as Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan. They felt a sense of superiority in the royal sacred region, feeling that they were a tier higher than others. The vast majority of people had a sense of superiority. Those who were arrogant and despotic were only a portion of them. After all, for those who came here from the immortal realms, there were some truly extraordinary geniuses who wanted to see if they could enter the tutelage of the Eastern Sage Great Emperor. Although they were arrogant and had a sense of superiority, they disdained to bully these country bumpkins in the royal sacred region. To them, this wasn't something glorious at all. At the rooftop of the inn where the first guests from the immortal realms arrived, there were several people drinking wine. Two of them were none other than Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan. Recently, Zai Xian's mood wasn't very good. It was all because of that evil-looking young man. This fellow wasn't simply lustful. He cultivated an evil art and used women as cultivation furnaces. Every time he enjoyed the women, they would all die. Although there were many beautiful female attendants in the royal sacred sect, and Zai Xian had gifted many of them to that evil-looking young man, it wasn't enough for that evil-looking young man to crazily use beauties as cultivation furnaces. Not only did he want women, he wanted beautiful women as well. After a few days, that evil-looking young man would even capture beauties in the royal sacred sect. He even had designs on Lu Ziyan, his eyes gleaming with an evil light when he stared at her, causing Zai Xian to be extremely unhappy. However, he discovered that ever since that evil-looking young man started using beauties as cultivation furnaces, his cultivation base had already soared to the peak of the third level of celestial phenomenon. This caused even Zai Xian to feel a trace of excitement in his heart. If one tossed aside their conscience, this cultivation art was truly an extremely good one. Not only could he enjoy beauties, he could also raise his cultivation base. Hence, Zai Xian didn't chase that evil-looking young man away and continued to capture people for him. Hence, during these few days, the news of the missing beauties in the sacred royal city circulated like wildfire. And this was only exposed after a beautiful genius from a major power went missing. At this moment, a row of silhouettes flashed through the air. One of them was clad in white and had an extraordinary handsomeness. His eyes swept downwards before he actually descended, heading towards the open-air inn. The countenances of Zai Xian and Lu Ziyan turned solemn. A cold light flickered in Zai Xian's eyes while Lu Ziyan had a look of bewilderment on her face. After which, a smile appeared on her face as she stared at the descending silhouette. The experts of the royal sacred sect who were protecting Zai Xian all had cold expressions on their faces as they stared at the descending silhouette, their eyes flashing with killing intent. Qin Wentian, he is Qin Wentian. At this moment, a shocked voice rang out as a commotion broke out in the inn. When Qin Wentian landed, many people hurriedly opened up a path for him. Right now in the royal sacred region, who wouldn't know of Qin Wentian's name? Qin Wentian sat down not far away from Zai Xian. There were also experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley beside him. Right now, the royal sacred sect and the Medicine Sovereign Valley seemed to have reached a tacit agreement. Both sides didn't continue to clash, but the moment they met, the atmosphere of mutual hostility would naturally be unavoidable. Sitting at the table, Qin Wentian poured himself a cup of wine and drank it. He had just finished his cultivation when he heard of the recent happenings in the sacred royal city. This included the news of the Eastern Sage Great Emperor accepting a disciple, as well as the arrogance of the external world visitors, and even the news of the abduction of the beauties of the sacred royal city. He felt extremely infuriated in his heart. They were all cultivators and yet they dared to act so brazenly, disregarding the lives of others. How preposterous! I've heard the word, country bumpkin, from your mouth before. Although you are someone from the royal sacred sect, you should be cultivating in the external world, right? Qin Wentian stared at Zai Xian. His cold eyes flickered with a light that caused the hearts of others to palpitate. At this moment, Zai Xian didn't dare to underestimate Qin Wentian like he did back then. This demon-level character who had a violet gold astral soul, his combat prowess was simply too strong. He couldn't help but to admit that if they were at the same level, his combat prowess in the immortal realms would also be extremely terrifying. So what if I am? Zai Xian's eyes gleamed with coldness. He was actually somewhat jealous of Qin Wentian. This country bumpkin of the royal sacred sect actually had a violet gold astral soul and was even protected by an immortal ranked expert, allowing him to escape from the royal sacred sect. People from the immortal realms aren't much at all. You keep referring to others as country bumpkins. Doesn't that mean that you are even inferior to a country bumpkin like me? Qin Wentian drank a cup of wine as he sarcastically spoke. He was extremely unhappy in his heart about the arrogance and despotism of those people from the immortal realms. At this moment, at another table, a few people placed their wine cups down as they stared in the direction of Qin Wentian. One of them had a blood-red glow in his eyes as he exuded an aura of extreme danger. However, after that, a smile appeared on his face as he stared at the people opposite him. The people from this country bumpkin world are also so arrogant. Surely, do these country bumpkins know that they are country bumpkins? They are short-sighted and have little knowledge. They basically have no idea how vast the immortal realms are and only know that there are country bumpkin worlds. As the saying goes, the ignorant are fearless. Since they are ignorant, they naturally have nothing to fear. Another person laughed. That's true. Having little knowledge is also a form of sorrow. They don't know that they are at the bottom rung of the immortal realms. How would they know that there are some supreme experts fighting in the immortal realms? If they are unhappy, they can destroy countless country bumpkin worlds with a wave of their hands. They don't know how insignificant they are. A third person nodded. The three of them continued drinking and chatting, treating Qin Wentian's words like air. Their sense of superiority was obvious. Hee. Zai Xian laughed when he heard this. He similarly didn't reply to Qin Wentian. The words of these three were already sufficient. In the inn, many people had expressions of anger on their faces. These people truly had no one in their eyes. No matter what, Qin Wentian was the most famous genius of their royal sacred sect. His talent was extremely high, yet he was actually mocked by them. Qin Wentian, these people from the immortal realms are too used to being arrogant. However, it's best not to antagonize them. How would they know that with your talent, they would look up to you sooner or later? They are the ones who are ignorant. Some people felt indignant in their hearts, yet they didn't dare to say anything. They could only transmit their voices to Qin Wentian, venting their unhappiness. The ignorant are fearless. That's right, only the weak would like to flaunt their sense of superiority. Because they are existences at the bottom rung of the immortal realms, they are used to being suppressed. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, his words causing the other three to frown. Sir Qin's words are truly inspiring. Xian is filled with admiration. At this moment, a gentle and melodious voice drifted over. After which, a few silhouettes walked up the stairs. One of them was as beautiful as a celestial maiden, instantly causing the gazes of everyone to be focused on her. Even those from the immortal realms had dazed looks on their faces. This person was none other than the number one beauty in the royal sacred region, Lin Xian. Chapter 709. Xian. An expression of joy appeared on Qin Wentian's face when he saw her. Lin Xian gracefully walked over to Qin Wentian's table and smiled. Sir Qin, you wouldn't mind Xian sitting here, right? Xian there's no need to be so polite between us. Just take a seat. Qin Wentian smiled. Back then in the immortal martial realm, many people targeted Qin Wentian. Xian had helped Sis Ling Shuang, Fan Lo and the others a few times, taking good care of him. Also, although Lin Xian was a peerless beauty, she wasn't as fickle as what others imagined. She only wanted to find a man with extraordinary talent who loved her deeply. It was only normal for any woman to have such thoughts. When Lin Xian heard Qin Wentian's words, her eyes flashed with a smile as she stared at Qin Wentian, as though she could hook away the souls of people. She then sat down beside Qin Wentian. Xian when did you come to the sacred royal city? Qin Wentian helped Lin Xian pour a cup of wine as he asked with a smile. This maiden was as radiant and beautiful as ever. Her soul-stirring countenance made people want to protect her in their hearts. It's rumored that a supreme existence from the outer realms is recruiting a disciple. Right now, the entire royal sacred region is in an uproar, and since the sacred royal city is the sacred city of the royal sacred region, Xian'er naturally wanted to join in the liveliness. Lin Xian'er sipped the wine that Qin Wentian had poured for her. Her gentle gaze landed on Qin Wentian. The last time we parted, I didn't expect that when we met again, Sir Qin would already display such supreme talent. Back then, Xian'er already knew that with Sir Qin's talent, your accomplishments would surely be extraordinary. But I didn't expect it to be so intense. Right now, Qin Wentian's fame was simply too great. His rise was like a legend in the entire royal sacred region. Who would be able to challenge a heaven chosen from the royal sacred sect, and they just broke through to celestial phenomenon? Not only that, it was a battle across realms. What's even more shocking was that no one from the royal sacred sect could defeat him. Qin Wentian was like a living legend, and the royal sanctuary was witnessing his rise. Xian'er, stop teasing me. Qin Wentian laughed. Did I? Lin Xian'er's beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to not dare to meet her gaze. Her eyes were simply too mesmerizing. The longer I get to know young Master Qin, the more I realize how outstanding you are. If I had known you were so outstanding, I would have thrown myself at you the first time I met you. At that time, you hadn't married the holy maiden yet. Lin Xian'er giggled. She didn't hold back at all. Qin Wentian could only smile bitterly. He was being teased by a beauty like Lin Xian'er again. Oh yeah, does Sir Qin want to consider taking in a concubine? If you do, you have to consider Xian'er. Lin Xian'er's smile grew even more radiant when she saw the expression on Qin Wentian's face. Xian'er, don't make fun of me. Being teased by such a beauty, Qin Wentian had no way to be angry. He could only feel awkwardness. Xian'er is serious. Lin Xian'er pursed her lips, her charming eyes still on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's soul wasn't stolen away, but the others in the inn weren't far off either. All of them were captivated by her beauty, and when they stared at her flawless countenance, they involuntarily swallowed their saliva, wanting to give her a kiss. They hated themselves for not being Qin Wentian. If they were, they would have directly pounced on her. Such a beauty throwing herself into his arms, and yet he was still a gentleman. He was simply worse than a beast. Zai Xian, Lu Ziyan and the other guests from the immortal realms were all stunned by Lin Xian'er's beauty. Such a fairy-like beauty was extremely rare even in the immortal realms. Lu Ziyan, who was also a beauty, had an innate enmity towards Lin Xian'er. Her eyes were filled with unhappiness, especially when Zai Xian glanced at her and Lin Xian'er. It was obvious that he was comparing the two of them. Zai Xian's jealousy towards Qin Wentian grew even more intense. Not only did this fellow have shocking talent, he even had the favor of such a beauty, taking the initiative to throw herself into his arms. To think that there would be such a peerless beauty in a country bumpkin world. Xueli was initially angered by Qin Wentian's sarcastic words, but after seeing Lin Xian'er, his anger vanished, replaced by a fiery heat. Such a peerless beauty was truly rare. If there was such a beauty in the immortal realms, she would surely become the exclusive property of some powerful characters, not allowing others to touch her. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a beauty in this country bumpkin world today? Although they weren't fond of lust and had strong control over their desires, that was only relative. In this country bumpkin world, their desires were clearly exposed. If they encountered such a beauty, wouldn't it be a delicacy if they could have a taste of her? Brother Xueli, I didn't expect this. This peerless beauty seems to be very flirtatious. Another person laughed, his eyes flashing with greed. Lin Xian'er furrowed her brows, but soon after, she understood. She knew the lust of men, she had seen it in the eyes of too many men. She was very clear that if she was just an ordinary mortal, she wouldn't know what kind of nightmares she would encounter. These people were from the immortal realms, hence they didn't fear her at all. Sir Qin, these people from the immortal realms are truly disappointing. Lin Xian'er suppressed her anger as she spoke. Indeed. Qin Wentian placed his wine cup down as he coldly spoke, a bunch of filthy people, claiming to be extraordinary, calling us bumpkins. How sad. How interesting. The three guests from the immortal realms clenched their fists, shattering their wine cups. An instant later, whistling sounds rang out in the air as several silhouettes appeared. All of them had sharp expressions and powerful auras as they stood behind Xue Li and the other two. Xue Li's eyes gleamed with a blood-red light. He played with the shattered wine cup in his hands as he stared at Lin Xian'er. Capture that woman for me. Wait. At this moment, a voice rang out from afar. After which, the crowd only saw an evil-looking young man speeding over. The moment he landed on the roof of the inn, his eyes were fixed on Lin Xian'er. With a wave of his hand, strands of evil qi gushed forth, drifting towards Lin Xian'er. Lin Xian'er furrowed her brows and retreated to the side of Qin Wentian, only to see the evil-looking young man taking a deep breath as a look of intoxication flashed in his eyes. Who would have thought that I would be able to see such a peak-grade product here? The fragrance of a virgin, how fragrant. Even if I have to lose my cultivation base, I'm willing to do so. After I obtain you, I will definitely enjoy myself for a period of time before absorbing your essence energy. I really can't bear to part with you. The eyes of the evil-looking young man gleamed with an evil light, incomparably intoxicated. He stared at Zai Xian and spoke, "Brother Zai, help me capture this woman and I will give you the thing you want." Zai Xian's countenance stiffened as he stared at the evil-looking young man. "You know what I want?" Naturally, who wouldn't want such a cultivation art? The evil-looking young man flashed a meaningful smile at Zai Xian, causing Zai Xian to frown. And indeed, Lu Ziyan moved further away from Zai Xian, her countenance extremely unsightly to behold. "Ha, Zai Xian, you've already helped me so many times. What's the harm in helping me one more time?" The evil-looking young man laughed uproariously, his words causing Lin Xian'er to stare at Zai Xian as she icily spoke. "You are someone from the royal sacred sect, yet you actually helped him abduct females from the royal sacred region to provide for his evil cultivation art." Zai Xian's countenance stiffened as he silently cursed that evil-looking young man in his heart. What a bastard! The royal sacred sect proclaims themselves to be the hegemon of this world. Seems like they truly don't treat the people of the royal sacred region as humans. First, they threatened Grand Xia and Yi, and now, they even did such a heartless thing. If the royal sacred sect isn't destroyed, the royal sacred region will never be at peace. Qin Wentian's countenance was extremely cold. He wasn't a saint of morals, but as a member of this world, how could he not be enraged when he heard that the people from the other world didn't treat the people of this world seriously, killing and humiliating them as they pleased. And today in this inn, because he coincidentally met Lin Xian'er, he could clearly see that many of these people from the other world didn't even place this world in their eyes at all. They wanted to do whatever they wanted, and had no reservations whatsoever. If this continued on, the royal sacred region would be in dire straits. What made Qin Wentian the most furious was still Zai Xian. As a member of the royal sacred sect, the leader of the royal sacred region, not only did he not stand on the side of the royal sacred region, he even helped the people from the other world to commit evil deeds. How despicable was this? He simply had no bottom line. The expressions of the others in the inn were also extremely unsightly when they stared at Zai Xian. Their eyes were filled with hatred for a common enemy. The incident of the missing young maiden in the sacred royal city was actually caused by Zai Xian. Was this the holy land in their eyes, the hegemon of the royal sacred region? Surround her and kill her without mercy. Capture that woman as well. Zai Xian commanded. Momentarily, the experts behind him all moved out, surrounding the entire inn in the blink of an eye. This matter must not be leaked out. Those who knew about it must be killed on the spot. The people in the inn all trembled as they felt a chill run down their spines. Zai Xian wanted to silence them. "Beauty, I will let you enjoy the bliss of the mortal world." The evil-looking young man laughed when he saw this scene, staring at Lin Xian. The experts from the Celestial Maiden sect behind Lin Xian stepped out. At the same time, the experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley who were protecting Qin Wentian also soared up into the air. Several puppets appeared, protecting Qin Wentian. Right now, Qin Wentian was a character the Royal Sacred Sect wanted to kill. How could the Medicine Sovereign let his guard down? The moment he stepped out, there would be experts from the Medicine Sovereign Valley bringing along their puppets to protect him. The commotion here immediately attracted the attention of the spectators from afar. There were also many experts in the air, including some from the Immortal realms. The young man riding on the golden Jiao was there as well. His eyes were filled with coldness as he stared at the commotion below. This time around, the Eastern Sage Immortal Great Emperor opened up a path to the Royal Sacred Region, causing many people from the Immortal realms to descend. Other than some truly extraordinary characters, there were also quite a few scum. They came to this country bumpkin world for the sake of enjoying their women. He looked down on these people, but he couldn't be bothered with them. They were merely scum. Regardless of country bumpkin worlds or immortal realms, there were countless of them. Given how vast the immortal realms were, the true elites were still the minority. Doing such filthy things in the open. Such despicable characters, even if my royal sacred region is a country bumpkin world in your eyes, we still won't be able to tolerate them. Kill them all. Qin Wentian commanded. Numerous puppets shot out, aiming for the air. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.